and other victory ceremonies to end the evening. Di sesi kedua hari ini, lepas pukul 18 sampai sekitar pukul 21.30 waktu Indonesia Barat, akan ada beberapa event. Men's Omnium Scratch ada 4 babak balapan. Women's Sprint Semifinals ada 2 race, lalu ada 1 race decider. Kemudian ada event Women's Medicine Final, Men's Kicking Finals, dan berbagai upacara penghargaan atau victory ceremony untuk menutup gelaran hari ini. Hari ini juga ada Tissot UCI Nation Cup Jakarta 2023 di Jakarta International Railway Ground.
Welcome to the second night of our broadcast of the UCI Track Nations Cup, coming to you from Jakarta in Indonesia. There's the Jakarta International Velodrome, an absolutely marvellous venue for the first round of the Nations Cup for 2023. I'm Scott McGrory, joined in commentary by Olympic medalist Annette Edmondson. Nettie, we had the commentary of the events last night here in Jakarta, and firstly, how welcoming have the people been here in Indonesia? It's been amazing.
It has certainly been amazing. I think they're very happy to have an international track event here in town. Really cool to see the first of its kind in Indonesia. So the Australians are very happy. They've got a short trip over, the Kiwis as well. But yeah, it's just really cool to see track cycling in this part of the world.
Absolutely. The venue was built for the 2018 Asia Games, and wow, what a marvellous venue it is. Lots of compliments from the riders about how smooth the surface is, and that might sound strange. You would think that all track indoor velodromes are nice and smooth, but this one in particular just seems to be incredibly in pristine condition. See the riders coming up onto the track for the first time tonight. We'll see the men's Omnium Scratch Race, the first discipline in the 4-discipline event, the Omnium, and somewhat complicated to explain. We'll get into that in just a moment. But we can see everything else that's coming up as well. The women's sprint semi-finals, so we're getting close to the medals now for the women's elite sprinters. Also the men's Kirin, the big fastest cyclists on the planet, are coming out onto the boards tonight. The women's Madison, big endurance race, that's a tough one as well. We'll see that on the program tonight as well.
Yeah, so we had some hot and fast racing last night. All the timed events were run and won, so team sprinters and the team pursuiters, so that was exciting. I think New Zealand on top of the medal tally with 2 gold and 1 silver, so they'll be hungry to get some more tonight. But as we can see, the start list for the men's Omnium Scratch Race, so it's a star-studded field. We've got a few contenders out there, a few previous world champions.
Absolutely. Graham Frisley from Australia, the youngster that's only just coming into international competition. Second Track World Cup, I think it is, for him. And we go down to Oliver Wood from Great Britain, certainly one of the contenders. Roger Kluger, former Olympic silver medalist in this discipline and also world champion previously, as is down the bottom there was Campbell Stewart, who was also a former world champion in the Omnium and way back as a junior as well. So he's been doing this event for a long time. Certainly one to watch, the New Zealand rider Campbell Stewart.
Yeah, 4-time junior world champ. I think two of those were in the Omnium, and then went on to the Olympic Games. He ended up getting a silver in the Omnium in fine form. He took a couple of laps and managed to squeeze onto that podium. So that was really cool to see.
Young man from Palmerston North in New Zealand. Certainly a man to watch. The challenge for someone like Campbell Stewart, as we see the riders get underway, the first lap is neutral in this first discipline within the Omnium series, the scratch race. Everyone knows how good Campbell Stewart is. So he's a marked man. That does make it really challenging, Nettie. If he gets out of the saddle, everyone gets out of the saddle. If he wants to attack, they all want to chase him. It makes it more difficult.
It certainly does. So yes, it will be interesting to see what the tactics are out there. I think this is that Austria is looking like they want to go hard from the gun. So 40 laps to go, and he's already got a gap looking over his shoulder. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who wants to chase him.
Well, even almost before Wayne Primaro, the commissaire, called the starter's pistol to get them underway, straight out of the blocks. So Tim Waffler from Austria trying to get in amongst it. So the way it works, this is the first of 4 disciplines that make up the Omnium, the scratch race, the elimination, tempo race, and then finishing with the points race. First across the line gets 40 points, 38 for second, all the way down through the entire field. Add all those points to the tally for the final race, which is the points race. We'll go through the details of it. Scratch race itself, though, old school race, bunch race. First across the line at the end is the winner. Gets a little bit more complicated, though, when riders are able to take a lap on the field, and that's what Waffler is trying to do right now.
Yeah, so he's got a pretty good gap. He's about a whole length of the straight, so he's making a quick move here. If he can take a lap, he'll be 1 lap up, which means that he won't have to be part of the sprint across the finish line. So that's a certain advantage, but I'm sure we're going to see some more action soon. I think people are going to get hungry and they're going to start going off the front to try and either catch him or get a lap themselves.
Opened up just over the length of the main straight now, so a handy little lead that he has, the Austrian. But you can see already in the body language, Nettie, that he's been out there for a few laps, starting to struggle a little bit. And the average speed of the peloton, as you can see, Graham Frisley now swinging up, the young Australian. The pace is on in the peloton. It makes it really difficult for one rider out the front to try and stay away.
Yeah, it's always frustrating if you've gone off the front and you look over and you see the whole bunch strung out in single file, because that means the pace is on. You do like to see it bunch up. You like to see the riders start to swing up, because then that means that it'll be a lot shorter distance for you to get back on. But yeah, Tim Waffler is he's got his hands in the drops and he keeps looking over. But yeah, as you said, the bunch is approaching.
Half the peloton swinging up. And not quite making contact with him yet, so just teasing Waffler out in front, encouraging him to keep going. You can see looking over the shoulder, just hoping that the peloton will ease up, but I don't think they will dramatically. He has to make a decision pretty quickly whether he wants to come back into the field or not, because now he's just wasting energy out there, and that's not going to help him later into this race.
Yeah, I think we'll start to see him swinging up pretty soon and then sliding on back into that bunch to try and recover and sit on those wheels, because that does take a bit of effort. He's been up there for 9 laps so far.
And finally made the decision to swing up the track and get back into the peloton, and perhaps that will be the catalyst for the next attack, but all strung out. And you can see also riders not too willing to be on the front of the peloton for too long, because they are trying to save as much energy as possible in case it does come down to a big effort towards the end of this first of the Omnium events, the scratch race.
Yeah, and the boys have already completed a points race. So there was so many riders that were here at this event here in Jakarta that they had to run 2 heats. So they've already raced this afternoon, and so yeah, they've already expended a bit of energy. So they've got 4 big events to go. So you never know what to expect. Sometimes people like to light it up, but it looks like they're all waiting, looking over the shoulder, not sure who wants to make a move. Will this come down to a bunch kick, or yeah, will we see it start to break up in the next few laps?
And Nat Edmondson, how do you make a 4-discipline event like the Omnium more difficult? Throw in an extra points race just to qualify as well. So it really does show just how much of an endurance event this is. And this is the discipline that came into cycling when they took out the individual pursuit many years ago, and they wanted to have another type of endurance event, and they came up with the Omnium. It has changed concept a few times. There's been a different format since the very first Omnium at international level, and they've now settled on the 4 bunch races that we have already spoken of: the scratch, elimination, tempo, and points race.
Yeah, it used to be 2 days with 3 events each day. So the 3 timed events and 3 big bunch events. So it was a pretty long journey just to get that one medal at the end. So then they swapped it to 4 races, so 4 bunch races. Oh, no, it stayed at 6 for the second Olympics. So the first Olympics in 2012, it was a certain order. Then they swapped the order for 2016. And then for 2021, it went to 4 events, so 4 bunch races, and they got rid of the timed events. So yeah, it's an exciting thing to watch, but it does pay to have somebody who knows what's going on, because yes, can get a bit confusing out there.
Well, that original format of the Omnium that we had at the 2012 Olympic Games, you didn't mind that one, Nettie. You went okay there.
Yeah.
Medal,
I didn't mind that. I had some sprint events, so I think that was more my forte. So it did progress to a lot more of an endurance style of race. So this is, 40-lap race. It can come down to a sprint. This one's definitely looking a lot more like that. It's a bit more calm. There's not so many heavy attacks. But yeah, the extra distance for all in one day does tax the system by the end of it.
I did notice they're just in second position at the front as we see Baudat from France, and he's a rider that they'll certainly be paying attention to, very well credentialed in Omnium level. But I looked at the black skin suit of Campbell Stewart quickly getting up and out of the way, trying to save his energy for a sprint towards the end perhaps. They'll come around to get 20 laps to go the next time around. Starting to get to that time on the race when they really need to think about whether they're going to try and attack or save all the energy they have for that final sprint.
Yeah, this is quite unusual to see in the men's scratch race for the Omnium. Normally you do see laps taken, so I'm very surprised. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? I like to keep it exciting.
Well, perhaps that little bit of extra fatigue in the legs with all of these riders that did have to get through those qualifying point races in the afternoon program, knowing that it's going to be a big evening here in Jakarta for them. And, of course, the hardest of the disciplines, the point race, is the fourth and final race that they will have tonight to finish things off. Nice even tempo as they come through. And they'll come around 17 laps to go now. Boscaro, that's Ollie Wood. Flick of the right elbow there from Ollie Wood, telling the rider behind that he is about to swing up the track. Don't be overlapping the wheel when I swing up the track because you may crash.
He's gold medalist in the team pursuit at last year's World Championships.
Hansen from Denmark now swinging up in the red, very familiar red and white colours of Denmark. And keep an eye out for the big German, Roger Kluger as well, former world champion. Sitting around in the middle of the field, you can see just how tall he is in the white colours, white helmet. And a lot of hesitation here, Nettie. 16, 15 laps to go as they come through. Close enough towards the final few laps to be starting to really think that maybe this is definitely going to be a sprint, and no one wanting to waste energy on the front of the peloton at this stage. Not everyone is a fast sprinter, though. So the riders that know that they're not going to be well credentialed for that final sprint to the line, you would think need to do some attacking now.
You would. It is very strange. Yeah, we just saw Hashimoto swing up. He won the elimination last night. He's got a very fast sprint on him, so I know he'll be wanting it to come down to a kick. But yeah, there are...
I was talking to Hashimoto in this afternoon program. There's Roger Kluger, the former world champion, the 37-year-old, two-time world Madison champion as well. And he comes from Eisenhüttenstadt in far east Germany, right on the border with Poland. But such an experienced rider. He knows where to put himself into a good position. Just back to Hashimoto, he said the points race this afternoon felt harder than winning the elimination last night.
Ooh.
So that's interesting to see how he goes today then with that kind of fatigue in his legs.
Yeah, that is an interesting comment. I think he needs to get rid of those thoughts and turn it around because, yeah, it's a big day and you need to make sure we're switched on. But I'm sure he's organised now, and he'll be really excited about this scratch race because this is where he's going to get the most points. So this one will suit him. So he's going to, if you can win this race, he's 40 points for that.
They're coming around now. They'll get 10 laps to go. So into the final 10 laps, Roger Kluger swings up and out of the way.
Yeah, it's starting to heat up.
A little bit of an acceleration here. Heinen from the Netherlands. You can see the acceleration, and it's Waffler from Austria, the first attacker, that followed him as well, and that was quickly neutralised. Campbell Stewart right up there in the black colours as well. Keep an eye on him. He's a fast finisher. Baudat from France with the orange helmets. And they've really come on board with the orange helmets, particularly for the Madison, the French, just so they can really clearly identify their rider on the other side of the track. We'll talk a little bit more about that tonight. Mora now from Spain, Sebastian Mora. He's also a rider that has done so many good things at international level.
8 laps to go. Everybody wants to stay close to the front, but not on the front. That's why you see them popping up. They want somebody to take the initiative, go down the track, and then they'll jump on the wheel. So looks like Portugal has dropped back down.
Matias from Portugal. A little bit of a sneaky move to see if anyone was going to follow or not. And then right on the wheel there was Thibault from Switzerland.
This is going to be a very fast sprint. There's a lot of fresh legs out there from this, relatively easy-paced scratch race. This will mean that it's going to be a lot harder to move up once the pace is on. It's going to be really hard to move.
It's Colby Langer in his trade team colours, just right on the very front there. Looks like a big sprint derby now. 24 riders on the track, 5 laps to go. Colby Langer just on the outside of De Wilde from Belgium.
It's Hashimoto going around the front. He's been doing a bit of Kieran racing, so he'll be all over this. I'm sure he won't want to be completely on the front.
Well, Lindsay De Wilde fighting for that lead position. Budat just on his wheel as well. Hashimoto now coming back up around the outside. We also have Boscaro, Davide Boscaro from Italy now fighting for position. 3 laps to go, 750 metres, and it's a long way from home that Hashimoto has hit the front of the peloton. This is going to be really tough to try and hang on from there. Big move now coming from Budat from France. Where's Campbell Stewart? We've spoken a lot about him. He's sitting back in 4th position. 2 laps to go now.
Yeah, Campbell Stewart looks really good. He's sitting in 4th now, just on over the top of the Belgian. De Wilde. There was a bit of... Oh, there's a touch of wheels. They've done well. Oh, and we've got one rider down.
Big flick up the track. One rider unfortunately going down, but down the back straight, it looks like De Wilde that's going to come up around the outside for Belgium. He put himself in a fantastic position over the last couple of laps, and this is why he needed to do that, because he's a super fast sprinter. He takes out the scratch race. Good result there from Lindsay De Wilde from Belgium. And it is the second Japanese rider that did go down, so we'll get an update on him in just a moment. We can see him from our commentary position. But for now, Belgium take maximum points in the men's Omnium scratch race, the first discipline in 4 for the night. So that was a great ride from the young Belgian rider.
Yeah, 27. I have a fun fact about De Wilde, actually. He got married last week. So married...
He's riding on a high.
Exactly. Married to Jennifer, so I hope she's watching. So this is his honeymoon potentially. So congratulations.
Well, second across the line was Will Tidball from the UK, from Great Britain, and Sebastian Mora. We saw him briefly mention how good he is. Well, he was 3rd. Thomas Bourdin was 4th across the line. Ollie Wood was 5th. Campbell Stewart, the multiple-time world champion, in 6th place. There was Kenny de Kettler, the well-credentialed coach as well, well-credentialed rider, only recently retiring after the Olympic Games in Tokyo. And that's another change. You could see the coaches on the inside yelling over the fence. Previously, they were allowed up onto the apron area on the inside of the track. They've taken them all off in case there's a crash. And we can see how they've flanned up the track. What a great sprint. Nice little gap there as well. So that was a great result. Very close for 2nd place, but it was Tidball in the green colours that come away with 2nd ahead of Mora and Bourdin.
And that's the thing, those points, those positions make a big difference across that line when you're in the Omnium. So Tidball in 2nd, Sebastian Mora from Spain in 3rd. We have Thomas Bourdin, who is the 2014 Omnium World Champion, in 4th.
And looking further down, we'll see who missed out. We saw Aya Hashimoto in 18th, and he went to the front just way too early, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, you did say he was complaining about his legs.
And
Roger Kluge.
Roger Kluge in 2nd last position, so former world champion as well. That's not a great result for him.
Yeah, it's challenging in an Omnium to finish a result like that. It means that you don't get as many points, so you've got a lot of work to do, but I would not count Roger out. He is known for taking laps in hard races like the points race or the Madison, so I'm sure we'll see a lot more from him as the night goes on.
Women's sprint semi-finals up next. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, though, just checking the track. And whenever there is a crash, they will come up and just check the track and make sure when the bikes hit the boards, they don't make too much of a damage. Sand it down, fill it up, put some tape over it, whatever it may be that's required to make sure it's in safe condition to race. Semi-finals for the women. Matilda Grove, the world champion, up against Emma Finucane from Great Britain, the young Welsh rider, and she really has come on strong, as has Matilda. She's young for her, I guess, her status. It seems as if she has been around for a while, but wow, the world champion is really stepped up over the last 12 months, the 23-year-old, and very young Emma Finucane, 20 years of age, but also very well accelerated over the last 12 months.
Yeah, she's bronze in the team sprint at the 2022 World Champs, so a couple of silver European medals. So she's, at the age of 20, she's sprung onto the scene, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of her in the years to come.
Seb Mora just coming off the track. Wayne Pomaro just inspecting things, and there's the stats of the track. 7.2 metres in width, 42-degree maximum, and down the straights also still fairly steep at 17 degrees, but very difficult to walk up the banking itself. Whether they're inspecting the crash is just coming into the front straight, so it's a little bit more shallow there. Mark Fulcher on the right-hand side, the technical delegate for the UCI here in Jakarta, Track Nations Cup. 101, how to fix a bike track. Now this sort of delay, Nettie, does it affect some riders more or less? They're focusing, thinking they have to get out onto the track, but now they've got to stand or sit right next to their opponent. Tactically, how can you gain an advantage or lose out?
I think being prepared before you come into the competition is the main thing here. So if you have a sports scientist, a psychologist, that's where you would talk about these sorts of things. So you'd be like, all right, if a race is delayed, what do you do? So you go over these scenarios. So you want to be as prepared for anything as you can. So in this situation, I think I would just, just try and relax, focus on my breathing, focus on what I'm about to do, so what the plan is, rather than how I'm feeling. So I wouldn't be like, do I feel hot, do I feel cold? I would just be like, what am I going to do as soon as we walk up onto the track? What is the process? Grip your feet in, go up to the start line, and then whatever your tactic is. So the sprint. Tell us about the sprint, Scott.
Well, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? They've gone through the qualifying rounds and all the other races previously, but now in the semi-finals, the top four, and it is the top four from the qualifying seeding earlier today. So it's interesting that the four fastest have actually made it through into the semi-finals. No one has been able to outdo them tactically. Matilda Groh, the world champion, was the fastest qualifier with a 10.51, flying 200 metres. And she's up against the fourth fastest in Emma Finucane, who was 10.58, so 0.07 of a second difference in outright speed over 200 metres between them. That's not that big that Emma can think, well, I'm going to get dominated by the world champion here. She can realistically know that she's fast enough to get the win.
Yeah, it's not over till it's over. As we see Carly McCulloch, her coach, pushing her up to the line. She was an Australian, now she's joined the British squad. And I think if I know Carly, she will be pumping up Emma, motivating her, making sure she's not down and out. And everyone can make mistakes. So even the world champion makes mistakes. So I'm sure they've come up with a plan. They know what type of rider Matilda is, whether she would like to ride from the front or from the back, and then how best Emma can possibly beat her.
3 laps of the track. And as always in the sprints, very slow to start with. Well, not always. Sometimes riders do actually try and jump away to get an advantage right at the very start. But both of these riders evenly matched. No reason for Emma to try and do that.
This is the cat and mouse event. So it's all about whoever can get across that line after 3 laps first. So it doesn't matter what you do. You can do a track stand. That's where they stand still on the track, but it's only for a certain amount of time now, because there was a lot of delay for later events when riders used to have a competition and do a standstill. But it looks like Matilda's relatively happy to lead. Emma's starting to pick up the pace a bit, getting a bit of height.
And as she does pick up the pace in second position, very high as well. So Matilda Groh just in danger here of getting swamped by Emma Finucane in second position from Great Britain. They'll come around to get the bell this time. And the world champion now taking control of this race. Out of the saddle, looking over both shoulders, left and right, checking where her opponent is. And Finucane stalking in second position. Now into the sprint prop as they go down the back straight. Finucane into the slipstream, trying to come up onto the back wheel. This is the best of 3 competition in the semi-finals. And Finucane looking very close over the top, but holding off the inside there. Matilda Groh comes away with the first win, so it is the best of 3. Emma can have a rethink, talk to her coach, talk to Carly McCulloch, and then come back and have another go at it in the second ride. But a good start for Matilda Groh, the world champion.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I was impressed by Emma. I thought that was good. She got into the slip.
It was close, yeah.
Came up upon Matilda, but Matilda looks very comfortable. She'll be already starting to think about winding down, get rid of the lactic acid, what does she need to do? Get on the rollers and then get ready for the next one.
Well, at the start, I spoke about the qualifying times, 10.51 versus 10.58, pretty close, and that was demonstrated there, that there wasn't a massive difference in speed between these two. The youngster from Great Britain certainly was able to close up onto the world champion's back wheel and push her around the final bend and into the straight. Tactically, though, for Matilda Groh, the world champ, perfect.
Yep. It looked like she had Emma where she wanted her. She was in control, kept her nice and close. Emma tried to take some height, and Matilda saw that and went up with her. And yeah, Matilda hit out when she wanted. And yeah, you just have to win. That's the main thing.
The good thing about this track is what we're hearing within the sprints in particular is it is very possible to come around the outside in that final bend. Just the shape of the track does favour riders, if they have the speed, to come around from that second position. So not too much of a hindrance. On to the second semi-final, and this is between Sophie Capewell from Great Britain up against Leah Friedrich from Germany. Capewell, the faster of the two in the qualifying. It was 10.52 versus 10.56, so only 0.04 of a second between these two. So much closer in the second semi-final in terms of pure speed, outright speed over flying 200 metres.
Yep, Sophie Capewell, a couple of bronze medals at the World Championships. She's 24 years of age, and Sophie Friedrich is 23, 7-time world champion, no less. So very, what's the word?
Accomplished.
That's the word.
Or greedy.
Oh, yeah. No, she's very, very experienced.
Very focused as well. Part of the incredibly strong German team sprint team, the Olympic champions, world champions, silver at the Olympic Games, world champions currently, and they have won that a couple of times now.
Including last night. They won the Nations Cup for the team sprint, Team Germany.
Capewell it is, the 24-year-old, out of the saddle, and Friedrich just dropping down a little bit, not really intending to go to the front, but just trying to put some pressure on the Great Britain rider, trying to force her to accelerate more than she needs to early as they come into the final lap now. Down the back straight, Capewell leads out, but in the slipstream is Friedrich. Has she got the speed to come up around the outside? You can do it on this track. We've seen it in a few races throughout the day, but not this time for Friedrich. So perhaps a little bit of an upset there in the best of three rides. The first one now going to Sophie Capewell. That was a brilliant ride by her.
That certainly was. That was awesome.
Bit of a rethink for Leah Friedrich. She'll go back to Jan van Eyden, the coach, and have a bit of a chat about tactics. What can they do now to come back and get over the best of, get the better of Sophie Capewell?
Yeah, I like Sophie was completely in control then. She, looked over her shoulder, hit out when she wanted. Sophie tried to put the pressure on in bend one with about 3/4 of a lap to go. But yeah, Sophie just stayed calm, stayed in her lane and built it home.
And yep, nice and smooth around the outside and very clean racing, I must say. You go back to the older days when they were throwing hooks and riding left and right, but yeah, very clean and smooth racing, so extremely fair from all of these riders. Big throw to the line though. First one there, Sophie Capewell goes one up in the best of three racing in the women's sprint semi-finals. The fast men up next, the men's Keirin semi-finals. They've gone through all of their rounds today to get to this point.
Next event is men's Keirin semi-finals. We will have two
and in the first one, Matthew Richardson up against Quintero, Yakovlev, Kano, Harry Leveresen, the world champion, and an emerging talent from New Zealand, Sam Dakin. He's such an imposing rider, Harry Leveresen. He's got the rainbow bands, obviously signifying how good he is at this. He's been world sprint champion, world team sprint champion, world Keirin champion. And it must be so intimidating for these other riders whenever they line up against someone as accomplished as Harry, but everyone is beatable, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone makes mistakes, as we said before. But he looks really happy. I saw him between a few of the rounds, just in a really good mood. Unfortunately, Team Sprint, they had an issue last night in the final. I think there was an issue with Hoogland's wheel, his teammate, so they came home with the silver, and I know that he'll be hungry to change that. But yeah, he's just so powerful, so fast. He's done this so many times before, so yeah, we'll see what tactic he pulls out tonight.
Kevin Quintero from Colombia coming up into position number one. It's Harry Leveresen beside him. Then we go up to Shinji Nakano from Japan, no relation to the former great professional sprinter, 10-time world champion, Koichi Nakano, but maybe he can channel the namesake. Then we have Mikhail Yakovlev in position number 4, Sam Dakin in the New Zealand jersey, and then at the top of the track is Matthew Richardson, the current world team sprint champion.
Jason Niblett, another Australian coach.
The Wimmera Wonder from Horsham in Victoria, Jason Niblett. And there he is, Harry Livreisen. Such an accomplished rider, super strong.
Terra is very fast.
Shinji Nakano. Final preparations for the riders.
They've already had a big day today, haven't they? They had the qualification, and then if they missed out, they had to go through a rep charge. Actually, Matt Richardson, he's done it hard today. Went through the rep charge, then he went through into the quarters, then he went through another rep charge, and now he's here. So 4 races under his belt, and for a sprinter, that is pretty taxing.
And that's off the back of the team sprints yesterday as well, so really tough. And then they'll go into the individual sprint tomorrow. The electric Derny motorbike comes through, 6 laps of the track. The bike will come off after 3 laps, and then it's all-out war for these riders to try and get into the top 3. It's been fairly cutthroat to this point. The first 2 riders making their way through. Now we're getting to the semi-finals. It's the top 3, which surely, it sounds easier, but then 3 riders will be missing out. So you can't really back off too much. You have to race this like you're trying to win to guarantee that you don't miss out on going into the final.
Yeah, it's pretty cutthroat. I feel like every other round there's a second chance through the repecharges, but this is it. Once you're in the semis, you've got to be in that top 3, otherwise you go to the B final, so that's 7 to 12? Yeah.
That's right, yep.
How's my maths?
4 to go. As they come through, the bike will come off next time around, and it's Kevin Quintero from Colombia that leads the way. Look over the shoulder from all of the riders just to check to see if there's any movement from behind, and it's starting to come now as well. It's Sam Dakin from New Zealand, drifting up around the outside, and the bike will come off this time. What's Harry Livreisen going to do, the world champion? He lets Sam go past. Also, Quintano lets him go past as well, and Dakin goes to the front as they get to 2.5 laps to go.
Yeah, interesting move from Sam. So he was at the back, well, second last, and he wants to lead from the front, so he's gone straight around the outside. Got a bit of a gap, but we have the world champion Livreisen coming around the outside. He notices the threat. He doesn't want Dakin to have all the control.
Coming around to get the bell this time, and it's the world champion that's going to hear it before the rest of the riders, but Yakovlev is also coming up around the outside, so a huge man around the side of the world champion. That's an incredible performance from Yakovlev. He's going to put himself into the final. He'll win the semi-final. Livreisen in second. Dakin, who did go early, and that's the 3 that will go through now. So Quintero, Richardson, and Nakano, unfortunately for them, missing out. But what a ride from the big man, Yakovlev.
It certainly was. He is so tall. He's got a very familiar shape on the bike. He was running for Russia at one point.
He was, right. He is so big. When he bends over when he leaned over the top there of Harry Livreisen, his head and his feet were in different time zones. That's how tall he is. And blasted past the world champion, sending a clear message that he is here to race, he's here to win, and he's done his best by getting himself into the final. So Yakovlev, Livreisen, and Dakin, the 3 riders that go through from Heat 1.
Yeah, huge ride from Dakin. I think he's going to be very pleased about that. He's really stepped up in the last 12 months.
And showed confidence by going early around the outside. And it's the hard thing, is to go to the front and try and go from 2.5 or so laps out. But he showed some confidence, he backed himself, and that's what's got him through.
Yeah, a lot of the time, if you're feeling a little bit out of the mix, you've got a world champion there, you wait for other people to make the move, but no, that's how we wanted to race it. He went from the front, was aggressive, and it worked.
Heat number 2 now, men's Kirin semi-finals, and Tom Cornish from Australia, Yuta Obara from Japan, and 2 riders from Malaysia, Azizul Arwang and Mohammed Sharom, and then we have Jeffrey Hoogland from the Netherlands. And in the Japanese trade team is Kento Yamasaki. There he is, Yamasaki. There's Tom Cornish, world champion in the team sprint last year. It was a great performance from the Australians. And they backed it up by winning this first round of the Nations Cup yesterday, the opening nights of the medal ceremonies, the medal races. did have a problem though, didn't he? He put his broke a toe strap, I think it was, or a pedal strap in the final of the team sprint. Had to have a restart, so hopefully they've got all that sorted now for the men's Kieran.
And there's Hoogerland. He also had an issue, but in the next round. So, well, it was a restart, and then once they're up and running, it was about 2 laps in, which means that you can't have another restart. So,
former Kieran world champion Azazul Awang and Yuta Obara from Japan. Anthony Peden, former medalist at the Olympic Games and World Championships in the Kieran, holding him up. And there's Tom Cornish. Mohammed Shah Sharom from Malaysia. Yamasaki, the second of the Japanese riders. And there's big Jeff Hoogland. So he'll be the rider obliged to go behind the electric-powered motorcycle or Derny cycle. And they do draw for the positions on the track. And for the first half or the first lap, you must go into the position that you drew. That is a change from the older Kieran regulations where you could fight for position off the start line. Now they've eliminated that and they all must filter down into the position that they chose or they selected for the first lap at least. Then they're allowed to go and make improvements and change around if they want to.
Yeah, so it's the number that they selected. So they put the hand in a hat and they pull out the card randomly. So, yeah.
Are they still using the old school hat, are they?
I'm not sure.
We'll have to check that.
Yeah, actually, no, I think I've seen the iPad, you tap it and then it flips over. So, yeah.
I thought there would have been a more of a modern way of doing things.
That's what they used to do.
The old hat, yeah, they certainly used to, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was cool. So yeah, it just depends. Sometimes people like to ride from the front, some people like to ride at the back, and so if you pull number 6 and you prefer to ride from the front, that's like Sam Dakin in the previous round. That's when you can make your move, but it can't be until you can't go past the riders until the Derny swung off. So that's another rule. You can't go past that Derny. So for the first 3 laps, they've all got to stay in there. Well, actually, no, it's the first lap they can stay in their position and they can start moving around as long as they don't go past the bike.
4 laps to go now, and the bike will come off the next time around. It's Jeffrey Hoogland from the Netherlands. A little look over the shoulder from him as they go down the back straight. Great crowd in here as well tonight, and the Indonesian cycling fans really enjoying this top level of competition. Slow as the bike comes off. 3 laps to go now, and it's Cornish that's the first to move, and he has a good kilometre time trial background, so he can go from a long way from the finish. Uta Obama, the next rider to go over the top of him, though. And then it's Azazul Awang, the former world Kieran champion and Olympic Kieran medalist. Cornish quickly steps out to go up, and then some shoulder action between Obara and Cornish. And where's Hoogland? 1 lap to go now, and Hoogland trying to come up around the outside. First 3 riders to go through, just like it was in the first heat. It's Awang down the back straight on the inside Cornish, and we could see Obara on the inside from Japan trying to fight through as well. It's going to be really tight. A wheel stand across the line. And unfortunately, after the finish line, there was a crash, but Awang and Hoogland definitely going through. And there's a photo finish between the third place riders.
That was Obara on the ground.
Was Obara on the ground?
Yes,
right.
It looked like he might have made it through, but then came down. He was on the inside with nowhere to go on the duck board. That was such a tight finish. 6 all grouped together. That's the downside of the Kieran. It's so argy-bargy and not a lot of room on the track.
Have another look at it now. The Japanese on the inside second position. So Azazul Awang leading through to the finish line. And this is coming into the final bend now. Very tight. You can see 3 abreast as they come around behind Awang. Awang's getting ready for his traditional wheel stand when he wins races. But very tight squeeze in behind him. Hoogland coming up around the outside. Cornish trying to fight. And then right down on the inside of the track. Oh, and you can see it was at the top. Yamasaki leaning into Cornish. Cornish then leads down into Obara. And still interesting to see who finishes third, but that's what caused the crash of Obara. It was actually from Yamasaki at the top, pushing down.
Oh, there we go. We can see who's
so
made it
he has
through.
crashed, but he has made it through. So he was third across the line and then hit the deck afterwards. So let's hope that he hasn't injured himself and he can come out for the final.
Yeah, he went down hard and he was lying there pretty still for a while, but he's up and walking, as we see here. Big scrape down the track. Hopefully he's not got too much whiplash. Check the helmet out, check the bikes out, and make sure that he's all clear to go.
At those speeds as well, oof, he do go down hard, that's for sure. But he does look okay. He grabbed his elbow as his first instinct. There's the winner from the heat, Azizul Awang. He is one of the craftiest, most intelligent of cyclists. Always knows what to do and seldom makes a mistake.
Yeah, he's a superstar in Malaysia. He's amazing.
He really is, isn't he? Yeah.
Olympic bronze medalist.
And you can see here, so Obaro is the one that goes down, but it's not his fault. He was just pushed down onto the blue band, and of course that's almost horizontal, so
that's the thing, they're going
nowhere to go.
Such high pace that when you come down on that angle, it's just, yeah, not ideal.
It is less than ideal, that is for sure. Did enough to get through. Let's hope that he can bounce back, though, and get himself a good result in the final. Women's sprint semi-finals, the second heat now in the best of three. And there's the rider that is one up in the first of them, Mathilde Gros.
What I love about her is she's so serious like this, but when you get her in casual clothes, she is the most sweet, amazing person. She's so, so lovely. So, but when she's on a mission, when she's all clothed in a lycra, it's game on. And as you said before, I feel like she's been around for a long time, but she's only 23. So I think she just was a superstar from a young age, and so nice to see her, at the top of her game.
If she wins this, she's going through to the race for gold and silver. Emma Finucane has to do something very special now, tactically, to get the better and take it to a decider. It was close in the first one, and close in terms of outright speed between the two as well. Gregory Bourget, the French coach, only been doing that job for a few years as well, so great to have a former superstar and world champion himself up there as a coach.
Yeah. He's only recently come on board with Mathilde, and I wonder if that's been part of the reason why she's really stepped up, helping her with the confidence. He's known as the Tiger, Gregory Bourget.
Had one of the most incredible recoveries from a blown tyre that I've ever seen. If you do, look it up, Gregory Bourget near crash, maybe under those sorts of words on YouTube. It was just incredible that he was able to hold it up. Such a skillful rider, these sprinters, and they are the typically the most skillful of cyclists, the sprinters and Keirin riders.
So Scott, why are they so high up on the track?
Well, and look at that, a bit of intimidation,
Yeah.
really squeezing. Emma Finucane getting right up there at top with Mathilde Gros. Yeah, they do have to be the top half of the track. They don't have to be right up there on the fence, though, but Mathilde has gone right to the very top. And Wayne Pomaro, the commissaire, just checking, making sure they are ready to go.
It's also the same thing. They choose their order. So before the round before, they would choose who's first and who's second. So Emma is number 2. Well, she's number 1 now. But that means that you have to go in a particular order. So one person has to lead from the start, and then you can change it around once you get going.
Do or die now. If we're talking gold and silver medals for Emma Finucane, she must win this to take it to a decider. Mathilde Gros wins this, and she is going into the race for gold and silver.
Mathilde's speeding it up. I think Mathilde wants to go from the front.
Putting a bit of pressure on, dive underneath, exactly, you called it. She got down under the red band just in time so that Emma Finucane was then obliged to make sure she gave her some space, gave her some room. And as they come around, it'll be the bell this time. Mathilde Gros looks as if she's labouring a little bit, but she wanted to be in the first position. That's how she won the last one as they go down the back straight. The world champion out of the saddle once again. Emma Finucane able to get up around the outside a little bit, but struggling to get past. It is going to be 2 straight race wins for Mathilde Gros, and she goes through into the gold medal race later on tonight.
Wow.
She was pumped about that.
Yeah, she did exactly what she wanted. So I had a feeling she wanted to go from the front just because she was so strong in some of the earlier rounds. So she started to work it up. She brought Emma up the track. Emma didn't react fast enough. So by the time that Mathilde turned left down the track, she was in the sprinter's lane before Emma returned into it. So her move was completely safe. That meant that, so this is once the sprint's already started. So by this point, Emma doesn't have any height. She's too close on the wheel, so it's a lot harder when you're a very similar pace rider to be able to come up and come around. So this is why Emma would have liked to have had more height and more distance behind to have run at Mathilde, get into that slipstream and then pop up over the top. So, yeah, Mathilde did a great job at keeping Emma close to the wheel, low down on the track, and, yeah, it paid off.
Didn't get the momentum into the final bend that she was hoping for, but that was also because of the skill and the experience of Mathilde Gros. Second semi-final, Sophie Capewell up against Leah Friedrich. And similar situation for Sophie, wins this, and she'll be racing against the world champion for the Nations Cup gold medal here. And for the German, Friedrich, she has to do something very special, pull something out of the bag to take it to a decider.
Sophie Capewell, fresh off silver and bronze at Grenchen European Championships a couple of weeks ago.
Carly McCulloch looked just as focused as the athletes then.
She certainly would be. She's a very focused individual. Here to get the job done. So this one's a lot slower pace. Looks like both riders are content with their position at the moment.
Very slow. Cat and mouse event, this one. First half lap completed, so if you want to stop and try and force the second rider to come into the first position, now you're allowed to do it, not allowed to do it in the first half lap. Not coming to a complete stop. So back down again. And you can see how they do have to come down to the bottom of the track at these slow speeds. They cannot go around the track itself at these slower speeds. They would slide down. And that's going to change pretty quickly because 2 laps to go now, and they will need to start speeding up a little bit to avoid being surprised from behind. Friedrich, you can see now out of the saddle as they go down the back straight, and they will get the bell the next time they come around. So starting to pick up the pace. Capewell, she's one up in the best of 3. She just needs to win this to go into the race for gold and silver. Friedrich has to do something very special to try and hold her off and take it to a best of 3, or the decider it is. They go down the back straight. Friedrich now leading out. Capewell trying to come to the back wheel. She is in the slipstream. Is there enough gap now, enough distance to get up around the outside? There isn't, and we will go to a decider now because that is 1 race apiece in the second heat of the women's semi-final sprint.
Yeah, Sophie Lee did a brilliant job then. She kept Sophie Capewell quite close. Sophie was low down on the track for quite a long time, similar to before, in that she would be wanting to get some height, but Sophie Lee just kept increasing the pace, which meant it was hard for Sophie Capewell to move up the track. And then, she just didn't quite have enough. It was a bit closer than the round before. She had a little bit of a run at Lee Sophie. But, just not quite enough to come over the top. So this is exciting. We're going to 3.
There will be a decider, another race for them to contend, which Mathilde Gros will be quite happy about because she gets the rest now, gets a little bit of extra recovery before these two come back out again, race one more time. So advantage to the world champion, regardless of who it is that she's going to be racing against later. Extra race in the legs for her opponent.
Yep, it does make a difference because that means that these two are going to have to go back down. They're going to have to warm down. They're going to have to sit there, mentally prepare, think about how they're going to beat this opponent, and then head back out again. And so it's not just physical energy they have to use. It's a lot of mental energy. Just goes to show the experience of Lee Sophie Friedrich.
Riding very well. Indeed. You can see the riders now coming out onto the track. And these are the Omnium riders coming back for their second discipline, which is the tempo race. And in this one, it's 1 point to the first rider across the line each lap. And then, of course, the rider with the most number of points at the end will be declared the winner. And if you take a lap on the field, you'll get 10 points automatically. And this one, I can tell you, after a few laps, starts to get really complicated. The men's Omnium Tempo race, second discipline in the 4-discipline Omnium event.
I think it's 20 points if you take a lap.
Could be 20.
Yep.
Be sure to check that.
Yep. And I've raced it many times, so you would think that I have no right down to correct you. But yes, this is the tricky one because if you're first across the line, you get 1 point. But if you're second across the line, you get nothing. So if you're going to go for that sprint, you're going to have to make sure you win it. Because if you come second, then that's a lot of effort for no points. So it's a risky one. Sometimes you see people going for multiple sprints in a row for each lap, and they keep getting second. And if they do that, it just means they're still on zero. So you got to time it right. A lot of the riders will attack off the front just before a sprint, and then maybe try and get a couple in a row. Lots of riders head off the front, and if they're away, then the peloton gets nothing. So then a lot of the peloton decide to wait for that group to come back, so then they can head off the front and start getting points themselves. So it does get really confusing. It's really tricky out there. But no, it's a very exciting race.
And unfortunately, Shansuke Imura is unable to come onto the start line. So he was the rider that crashed in the scratch race. So that's unfortunate for the Japanese rider that he's unable to continue. After this, it will be the elimination event for them, and then into the points race at the end. So lining up in the order they finished the scratch race. So we can see Lindsay de Wilde at the top of the track. So he gets the advantage of, well, he doesn't have a holder to push him off. There he is. He's the current standings leader of the men's Omnium. But he does have the height advantage to come down the track to get himself up to speed if required. And like we see in the elimination we saw last night, they are pretty quick right from the start, because it is important to pick up those early points just to keep themselves right up high. A couple of neutral laps to start with.
Yeah, they get 5 neutral laps to start. But you can go off the front if you want. So some riders head off the front and hope that they've got a big enough gap and they can hold on. Sometimes I've seen someone head off the front and they stay away for 4 laps, and then they get brought back. And then it's a lot of energy to use without getting any points. Thomas Boudard from France.
Here we go, men's Omnium tempo race. Second part out of 4. Rolling out. Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian, men's Omnium tempo race. Balap kedua dari 4 babak Omnium. Memuji daya tahan para atlet dunia 40 putaran.
Did Paul look very relaxed on the start line before? He was having a laugh with his coach. It's funny to see what people like to do before each start. The serious ones and then the relaxed ones. So he's riding in the green skin suit for team. It's not Team GB, but it's the.
Big round of applause from Jakarta International Velodrome. Bapak Ibu sekalian, berikan tepuk tangan paling meriah untuk nomor uji daya tahan kali ini, men's Omnium tempo race. 2 pembalap coba lepas dari peloton.
Yep.
Satu pembalap dari Malaysia dan satu pembalap dari Austria coba lepas dari
Oh, now the Malaysians should work with him. They want to stay away. They've got 2 more laps to get through before they start making points. So they've got a bunch of 6 coming out after them. So they're going to hope that those guys stay away. So they've got 1 lap to go. That was the bell. So next lap, first across the line gets a point.
Bel sudah berbunyi, maka lap berikutnya sampai lap terakhir adalah sprint. Setiap sprint, pembalap hanya diambil 1 saja untuk mendapatkan 1 poin sampai finish.
This is where you'd see Malaysia stay down the entire lap and try and get that point, but you'd hope that Waffler doesn't come around to get that point, as he's going to fight him for it.
Masih tetap 2 pembalap di depan, Austria dan Malaysia, namun tertangkap oleh Jason Group.
Austrian rider Tim Waffler is at 2 points still. Sprint number 3, Canadian Matthias Gilliman.
Here's Campbell Stewart, so he's on the front, so he'll stay down there and try and get this next point. And that group of 4 are going to try and stay away. Just stay as smooth as they can, share those points, keep the pressure on.
There's also sprint number 5, Campbell Stewart, New Zealand. Scores 1.
So João Matias coming through. Oh no, he got rolled. He got rolled by, he did.
Result sprint number 6, Lindsay de Vilder from Belgium, scores 1.
So now this is when the race is on. So you've got big gaps starting to form. You see Thomas Bedard has noticed there's a big gap and it's a threat. So he's the one with the red fluoro helmet on from France. It's hard to see, but he's missed the move along with Aya Hashimoto. They're bridging that gap.
Number 8, Campbell Stewart from New Zealand. Sprint number 9, Vincent Foxen from Netherlands. From Malaysia, Hazim Alias loses point in the finish.
Ooh. Now there's some gaps starting to open up. So you've got Tidball and you've got Campbell Stewart in a group of 2. João from Portugal, he was, you could see he was starting to struggle because he swung up at the same time from second wheel, so he wasn't wanting to do another lap on the front. And now the gap is opening up behind them, but we have De Vilder has noticed the threat as well. He's starting to come across, so they've got their group of 3. Campbell and they're about to actually take a lap on the field. So it depends what the commissaires declare as the field. So it's whoever's got the biggest amount of riders. And if they take that lap, they get an extra 20 points. So they've done a really good job. They've got the 3, 2, and 2. So they're in, oh no, Campbell Stewart's on 4 now. So once he takes that lap, he'll be on 24.
Campbell Stewart from New Zealand leads ahead with 4 points, ahead of Tim Waffle from Austria, 2 points. Lindsay de Vilder from Belgium, 2 points. Halfway in, kita sudah separuh jalan 20 lap atau 20 putaran. Ayo berikan tepuk tangan, berikan semangat untuk para pembalap di nomor 10 on your please.
So that means that Philip Heinen is now, would you say, in the lead? He's just gone off the front. Where's this group of 3 at the front? It's really hard to keep an eye on everything at the same time.
5 riders gain 20 points. Campbell Stewart, New Zealand, Elizabeth Wilder, Belgium, Matthias German, Canada, William Titball, Great Britain, Hansen, Tobias Hansen, Denmark, leading up with 24, 22, and 21 points at the top 5.
17 putaran lagi, untuk sementara satu masih Campbell Stewart dengan 24 poin, diikuti William Fielder dari Belgia, Matthias German dari Kanada, William Titball dari Inggris dan Tobias Hansen dari Denmark dengan poin 22, 22 dan 21.
All right, so now Hayden is in lead, so those two riders have joined, so they're on the back, so we have one rider in front now, so yeah.
This time around.
So Heinen is sitting just off the back. Whether he will stay there for a few more laps to gain a few more before he joins on, because he is currently on, this is him going across now, so 4 points, he'll be on 4, which means that if he takes a lap, he'll be equal first with Campbell Stewart. So if I was him, I would try and stay for 1 or 2 more laps, but then it's a risk, because if that peloton really hits it and you don't actually make that lap, you could risk not getting those 20 points. So he's done enough now, he's on 25.
And on the back of the peloton as well. So another 20 points added. So there's a fantastic ride from him. How much did it cost him? 12 laps to go now in the men's tempo race.
Yep, so now his job is to sit on the back of that wheel and follow it. And it is so painful when you've done all that effort and now the peloton is strung out. So he's just going to, he can see him hanging on.
Ouch. You can see the pain, the body language and the grimace on the face.
Yeah, that is his only job. That's his only job. Oh, there's a crash. There's a crash.
Oh, he's gone down as well. So 3 riders going down, including the discipline leader in Philip Heinen, straight over the top, just as he was struggling to hold the wheel. Now he's touched down. And they have neutralised the race because there are riders strewn around the first bend. And they're in an unsafe position, so they have had to neutralise the race. You can see here, trying to backpedal, move around and go over the top.
No way.
Oh, that's really unfortunate.
This is the thing, once these riders are in the red, it's really hard. And they're like, he was looking at the wheel, that's all he was doing. And these mistakes happen. A clip of the wheels, someone goes down and there's nowhere to go. So yeah, it's really intense. When you're in the red, the mistakes start to happen. And big shame for him, because he was looking like he was going to win that race.
Still could. If he's not too badly injured, he can get himself back up and going again. You can see Anton Sakharov from Kazakhstan just limping a little bit because he was absolutely T-boned by Philip Heinen. Rode straight into his back and then up over the top. And you can see it here. Just as you were just talking about how hard it had been for him to hold onto the wheel and then bang into the back of Sakharov and over and down.
Ouch.
Alias from Malaysia is the rider on the outside in the black colours that's also hit the deck.
So it's only 11 laps to go, but they've neutralised the race just for safety reasons. Sometimes if the rider jumps up straight away and they can get back in within 5 laps, they don't neutralise the race. So this is, rider safety is of everyone's concern, and it's the most important thing right now. So as you see, the riders are starting to come off the track. They might grab a drink, do whatever they can to recover.
And 11 laps to go. So that's the race has been neutralised with 11 laps to go. What it does do, though, it also, for the riders that didn't go down, that don't have to try and recover from the bruises that have just been sustained, then some of the other riders, the faster sprinters, they get some nice recovery now. This is a race in 2.
Yeah, I would say that this scenario suits the people who have just taken a lap. So the ones that have just gone into the red, they're exhausted from just taking that lap, that suits them. The people that were sitting back waiting to attack, it's not going to help them. So the ones that aren't on many points, I think this is actually a lot worse for them, because now the others are going to be fresher.
So the overall standings as it stands, Philip Heinen, let's just hope that he can get himself back out onto the track. He leads on 24 points ahead of Campbell Stewart, the former world champion, on 24. Lindsay de Velde, the overall classification leader, he's on equal 3rd position with 22 points with Gillimet and Tidbull. And there's Hoppazak, the second of the Dutch riders. He's in equal 6th position. So still very close between all of the riders. And this is something great to see. Not all the bruises and the dirt from the side, but it's just good to see that he's back up on the bike. Shake of the head. He cannot believe what just happened. Took a lap on the field, was absolutely digging deep to just hang back in there, and then went down.
Yeah.
That's racing.
Yeah, when you got your head down looking up, it's there's not a lot you can do. But yeah, it was quite interesting, even just during our commentary where we were trying to work out if the 3 riders were in front or if he was in front. So apologies for that. It's quite hard even for us to see what's going on at every moment, because riders are going out the back of this race at the same time as riders are going off the front, and you're too busy looking at the one that's almost about to take the lap and someone else is out there. So yeah, it gets tricky. So apologies for our confusion. But.
And you will notice that they're lining the riders up again to restart, but in the first start order, not in the current positions that they stand in this tempo race, but going back to the way they started this race. And there's Campbell Stewart, former world champion.
It's quite
second place overall. He's in good position at the moment, Nettie.
Yeah, he looks good. He looks good. He's very experienced in this. He won the world title in 2019. He's done many.
Sitting in third position overall, Lindsay de Wilde, but also the overall standings leader. So he's won the scratch race, 40 points to his overall tally, but now sitting in third, just ahead of Mora, Sebastian Mora. Such an experienced track cyclist, great on the road as well, riding for the Cofidis team.
And we're just waiting for the track to be fixed as well, so they're currently making sure that there's no scratches or dents or divots that could cause a problem for the riders. It's quite interesting that they're actually lined up in the same order that they were at the start, but they're all on the fence. So last time they were down with their holders, whereas now they're all squeezed up the top of the track.
He had a nasty blow, Anton Zakharov, and we saw Heinen go right into his back as he went over the top, so let's hope that all those riders are okay.
Yep, Abdul Azim Alias from Malaysia is up on the fence as well in the black skin suit.
Incredible to think sometimes, isn't it? The speeds they're travelling and how hard they've gone down, yet all 3 riders battered and bruised, but they're still back out there. Haven't broken anything, and they will continue. So that just shows the courage and the toughness of these riders.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. They'd be going about 55 km an hour, I reckon, straight down onto the track. So we'll have to deal with those burns and bruises later. Sometimes there's time for a quick skin suit change if you've ripped a big enough hole, but yeah, they all look like they're up and okay.
And I can guarantee you that most of these riders would have preferred to roll the legs out a little bit, just keep the legs going, but they have had to stop as we look at Roger Kluge, former world champion. What I'm also noticing off to the side, though, is Zakharov from Kazakhstan has walked off the track. So just as we announced that all those 3 riders from the crash are going to continue, unfortunately, Anton Zakharov has left the velodrome. So, and he was holding his back as well, which is exactly where the overall leader, Philip Heinen, ran into. So that's really unfortunate for the Kazakh. Zakharov is unable to continue. Looks like we're not too far away from restarting. 11 laps to go, the men's tempo, the second discipline within the 4-discipline Omnium event. Furious discussion going on between the race officials. And the track repairs certainly have been done.
They're bumping up the track laps. Looks like it's 16 to go now.
And fair, if they give them a couple of laps to settle back in again.
Yeah, 4 neutral laps, yep.
So 4 neutral laps, thank you, Wayne Pomaro. And then they'll be back into it. And especially with all the riders lined up along the fence, they will get really strung out really quickly right from the start, just as they roll down. So that's very fair to give them 4 neutral laps, Nettie.
Yeah, I think so. Just to get a bit of sense of calm. as much calm as you can make it.
That was Tim Waffler there. They were just looking at the Austrian. He's started 2 races so far, attacked right from the start of both. Is he going to attack again now? I wouldn't be surprised if he has another go at it.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Some tired legs out there, although they've just had a bit of a break. Some of them might be a bit more fresh. I would be interested to know what some of the coaches have said. Some of them would have said, all right, change of tactic, or do we just stick to the plan?
Okay, time to reset, get themselves going. So one rider, unfortunately, Zakharov from the crash of 3, has not been able to continue. Philipp Heinen, the leader of the tempo at the moment, on 25 points. He was able to get back out there and going again. He really did need the rest as well. He didn't need the crash, but he would, if his body's okay after that crash, because he was really under the pressure, wasn't he? He did a solo lap, got on, and then they were really starting to fire things up again. Had to dig very deep.
Yep.
So it might have been just what he needed to give himself a really good shot now to go for the overall victory in this particular tempo race. There he is, right in the middle from the Netherlands. We'll keep a close eye on Philipp Heinen just to see what he looks like on the bike now after being so battered, bruised, but fortunately not broken. They'll come now to get 15 laps to go. Still within the opening neutral laps.
Yep, so remember at 11 is when the points start to be given out.
First attack coming. It's coming from Portugal.
Matthias. So he's off. This is a good move.
Waffler was sitting on front of the peloton. There he is, the Austrian. And Matthias stealing his thunder, going for that attack right from the start.
Yeah.
Still not picking up points yet, though. So still within those first opening 4 laps. You'll be hoping to stay away until the points are starting to be allocated again.
Yeah, so João Matthias, he took a lap before. He was suffering a little bit out there. I said he was second wheel when he swung up and went to the back, but that was smart because it meant that he was able to take that lap with that group. He got the 20 points, but now he is hungry for more. So that was the bell, which means that next lap he will get another point. So this is a really good move.
And the peloton for the first time staying huddled together.
Campbell Stewart's looking interested.
1 point to Matthias. So
He's got a good
moved
gap.
up. Yep.
He's already got about 2/3 on the track. But there you go. There's Scott. You're up.
There he is, Tim Waffler, the Austrian. But with Matthias off the front, this is going to be a big move from Waffler from Austria. No points to be gained from this unless he can get right around to Matthias from Portugal.
Sebastian Moore has gone straight around. So Sebastian looks really good. He's hit across, gone straight around, and he is on the chase.
And we see him do this a lot on the track. He really is an aggressive rider, Mora. Still, as he crosses the line, no points for him, with Matthias still up around the corner, picking up each lap, 1 point, 9 laps to go, 8 laps to go now as he comes down the straight. There's Graham Frisley, the Australian, trying to get into this race as well.
Yeah, Matthias's pace has dropped though. I think it won't be long before Mora catches him. But Matthias has done enough. He's got enough points. He'll be happy with that. So Sebastian Moore is coming around now. So now Sebastian will get this point. And there's 7 laps to go. So 7 more points on offer.
And Moore is sitting on 21 points. There are 3 on 21. And still right up on top is Heinen on 25. So another look across the track there from Seb Mora. Another point gained as well. Colby Langer, though, is the American rider that's gone out after Mora, trying to get up to the back wheel. Mora, another point gained as he comes around this time as well in front of everybody. 5 laps to go now. Sebastian Mora leads the way. Colby Langer from the United States in second position. Huge effort from Langer, but no points being gained. And there's a big chase coming from behind as well. Thibault from Switzerland leads a group of 4.
So Langer's on 0 at the moment, so he's going to have to try and catch Sebastian and get that point before the group behind him catches him.
And it's not going to happen,
No.
Nettie. It is not going to be happening because there's Mora still out in front. He's going to struggle to hold on as well as we see
De Wilde.
De Wilde up around the outside. He catches Mora as well. So there's another point to the overall classification leader, Lindsay De Wilde. And he's really going on with this.
So 3 laps to go, 3 points on offer.
And there's another point for him.
And he's going to
2 to go as they came through. So he'll come around. He's got 2 more scoring opportunities. And the gap's really opening up. So it does look it's going to be Lindsay De Wilde all the way through to the finish now.
And Lindsay's in second place at the moment. So with this point, he'll be an equal first.
And there's a big race coming from behind as well. It's Ollie Wood that's trying to come around the outside and trace down De Wilde down the back straight. A quarter of a lap to go. Will De Wilde hold on for the last one? He will, because Ollie Wood realised he wasn't going to get there. So another point going to Lindsay De Wilde.
Big round of applause
they've just changed the standings, and now the Builders back on 23. So then I think Division's on 24.
Wait for the official standings, but regardless, he won the scratch race and he was very strong finishing this one off as well in the tempo. Super fast those last few laps and just grabbing all those extra points at the end.
Absolutely, and that's where the final position across the line makes a big difference, because if you're on equal points with somebody else, that your placing will come from that final result. So there were a lot of riders on 0. That's when that final sprint makes a big difference. There's a few riders on 24, a few on 22. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what it comes down to.
By my calculations, we do have the winner there in Philip Heinen on 25 points. So hats off to him to have to come out with a crash as well. But he has won the tempo race. But then there were 4 riders stacked up on 24 points. The first of those was Lindsay de Wilde across the line. So he does come away with second ahead of Campbell Stewart. Then it's Sebastian Mora and Joao Matias. They're the 4 riders that were on 24 points, with Matias finishing in 5th place. Ollywood, the next one on 22, and he's in 6th place.
Yes, that was why his move was so good, because there are about 5 of them on equal 22 points. So, yeah, it's not over until everyone crosses across that line. Okay.
That is a winner of a bike race that is not looking very happy at all.
No, that looks like a lot of pain.
Ouch. Let's just hope that he can come back out and continue into the elimination and then, of course, the points race as well. Lindsay de Wilde, though, he continues to lead the overall classification as well after winning the scratch race, and now second in the tempo race. So the Belgian rider really on fire, with 2 more disciplines to come within the men's Omnium. Here it is here. And you can see just starting to backpedal. This is the crash from earlier on, and then bang into the back of Zakharov. And the tempo leader, after taking a lap on his own and having to dig so incredibly deep, sliding down the boards. So unfortunate, but gutsy to get back up and continue without losing a lap afterwards. You can see the damage, though. He's not a happy chappy at the moment as he's going back to the Dutch pits. There's the overall standings now, with the first and a second. Lindsay de Wilde is leading on 78 points, handy 8-point lead over Sebastian Mora. Then it's Campbell Stewart in 3rd place on 66, down to Will Tidbull and Ollywood, the 2 Brits, and Thomas Boudin in 6th place. Philip Heinen, after winning that, down there just behind them as well. As we go further down the rankings, as you go down a little bit further, regardless of the next 2 disciplines, really difficult to try and get back up into the medals when you're so far down, Maddie.
Yeah, it will be difficult.
Including Roger Kluger, only on 9 points, former world champion.
Yep, but in the point score, the last event, every lap you take, you gain 20 points. So you can make up some ground. It will be hard to win, but you can definitely move a long way up those rankings if that's your strong point.
And knowing how important it is for the overall Nations Cup points in terms of qualification for World Championships and the Paris Olympic Games next year. So Roger, while he might be down a fair way, he cannot afford to just cruise around and throw this away. He has to try and race to get further up the ranks for the overall points of the Nations Cup series.
I think we are up into the sprint.
It's the decider, the semi-final for the women's. Leah Sophie Friedrich up against Sophie Capewell, 1 race apiece. The winner of this one will be going through to the race for the gold and silver medals. And Matilda Groh gets to have a really good look from the inside of the track at her next opponent. Which one will it be? The German on the left or the British rider on the right? Friedrich versus Capewell.
So Lee Sophie will be in position number 1. So that means she'll ride from the front, which I think she likes, because she did ride from behind and then she moved her way up into the front in the last round. So it'll be interesting to see if that's how she wants to keep it this time. Tying up their straps. So they're clipped in with cleats into the pedals, but then most sprinters, I'd say almost all of them, have toe straps as well to make sure that those feet don't come out when they're putting all of that power down through the pedals.
extra bit of security. Different types of toe straps, as they used to when I first started racing, was toe clips and straps back in the day. But the straps they're using now are very different to those from decades ago. Extra security, and it also shows how much power is going through the pedals from these riders. Capewell coming up to the top of the track, and there's Friedrich at the bottom position. It's a real mental game at this level, isn't it? They're very close in outright speed. They've won a race each here in the semi-finals. So really now it comes down to tactics, because they are so evenly matched in every other area, and tactics comes down to mental attitude. The stare down. Do love a good stare down at the start of a sprint.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've done one, but now it's also with the visors, so it's not as intimidating as it used to be, where you were staring eyeball to eyeball into the face of other riders. Now you're looking back at your own reflection most of the time.
Yep, some riders like the reflective mirrors, some like the clear for that exact reason. I don't think Lee Sophie, we're gonna have to call them by their surnames, because there's too many Sophies. Friedrich is looking, I don't think she's taking her eyes off of Capewell.
Really close. Capewell sitting really close to the back wheel of Friedrich.
It's an interesting tactic. Because, like we said before, usually you like to get a bit of height, have a bit of speed.
Perhaps playing the intimidation game right up onto the back wheel. Looking for the element of surprise, but Leah Friedrich not having any of it. Now out of the saddle, coming down to get one lap to go. The winner is going through to the race for gold and silver. Capewell doing everything she can in second position to put some extra pressure on Friedrich. Down the back straight, steps out a little bit to try and come around the outside, but she didn't have a run at the back wheel. It's going to be tough for Capewell to come from here to get the win, and that's why she didn't. Leah Friedrich comes through, and she is going into the final to race for gold. And look at that, she's happy about it.
It was a very similar race to the previous round. Yeah, it just...
That looked easier than how close the others had been, for sure.
Yeah, it did.
And that's taking nothing away from Sophie Capewell. It just looked a little bit more comfortable that time for Leah Friedrich.
Yeah, Sophie Capewell did manage to get a little bit more height up the track. She did put the pressure on with about 1 1/4 laps to go. But Sophie Friedrich, she just kept her eye on Sophie Capewell the entire time. She was ready for when Capewell, yeah, this is the moment. So this is when the power goes down. Sophie Friedrich is ready for it. She's just building in that sprint lane all the way around out of turn 4. And it was enough to hold her off. She did come out of the lane a little bit. The rule is that if you don't, the commissaires don't believe that you impede the result, then you can sometimes get away with it. So I think that Sophie Friedrich will be okay with that one.
Good sprinting between all of the riders, but that will be what we'll see later tonight. The race for gold, Mathilde Gros, the world champion, up against Leah Friedrich from Germany. And then for bronze, it's an all-British affair. Emma Finucane up against Sophie Capewell. You can see the riders now coming out onto the track, and that's for the women's Madison that's up next. And I know Annette Edmondson, as we look down from above at the Jakarta International Velodrome, the Madison racing, I know you love it. You were very good at it yourself. And the women's Madison final coming out onto the track.
That's a bit rich coming from the Olympic gold medalist sitting next to me.
It was a long time ago. Here's the lineup now, though. France is going to be a really strong team. Also, Italy and Denmark. The Australians have a good combination as well. And we see some other teams further down that are not that well known for their Madison racing. So they're doing everything they can as well to gain experience and overall points to make sure they qualify for the Paris Olympic Games. It's really important in these races in particular to qualify a maximum number of spots for their nation going towards Paris 2024.
Yep, so there's 2 riders in each team. 1 rider will line up on the front straight. 1 rider will line up on the back straight. They will have a different set of numbers each. So 1 is a black number and 1 is a red number. So that helps the commissaires work out which rider is which. There's our French team in number 1. So we have Valentine Fortin and Marianne Borras. So they have been on the podium well, France has been on the podium at World Championships many times in the last few years. They've really stepped it up, and they've been honing in on their Madison. Their men's team were world champions this year.
They were, absolutely.
So
coming into form, as we talk about Paris 2024, and you're going to think of the pressure, or at least the willingness for the French to be in incredible form leading toward their own Olympic Games, and that's certainly the case in the men's Madison. Let's see if the women's French Madison team can match that of their compatriots.
we have some pretty strong teams here. So we have Great Britain's always strong. We've got Nia Evans and Sophie Lewis. We've got Dideriksen and Julia Leth from Denmark. So they're known for their attack in the last 10 laps of the race, and it's funny because we all know it's coming, but they still do it, and they often get away with it. They are the Olympic silver medalists. We also have who else do we have here? We've got the Australian team of Georgia Baker and Alexandra Manley. So they've medalled at multiple world championships as well. So they're coming fresh off of the Tour Down Under. And
they've also been very good at Nations Cup level races as well, haven't they? They've been quite accomplished at this level, which is close to World Championship level, but not quite.
Yep, I think they were 4th at last year's World Championships. So they're on a mission. They're both riding for Team Jayco Alula, so they're spending a lot of time on the road. Bit of a change in training now. I think there was a bit more time spent on the track and the gym, but they've stepped up on the road, and yeah, they mean business. We've got the pairing of Drummond and Botha from New Zealand as well. So Michaela is also on the road. Bryony Botha, she's a pursuiter. She's won the Commonwealth Games, 2nd in the World Championships last year.
Neutral lap to get them going. 120 laps of racing. Sprint every 10 for points. First is 5 points, then 3, 2 and 1 as they go across the line. Take a lap on the field, you gain 20 points and double points on the final sprint, 10, 6, 4 and 2. So the race is now underway. It's Nia Evans from Great Britain with the fluorescent helmet, just helping the riders out. We saw this, we mentioned this earlier with the French going with the orange helmet, and the British have gone with the fluorescent yellow, just to be able to identify their teammates a little bit easier when they're looking to come in. There's the first lot of hand changes from the riders, the New Zealand team getting themselves into position right at the very front.
This is going to be a challenge commentating this. Oh my gosh, it's a wild event. There's a lot going on. So one rider is at the top of the track, the other one is down at the bottom in the race. So it's about 2.5 laps before you see your teammate, and then you'll come down, find that teammate, and you'll hand sling them and use your momentum to give your speed. And it's quite a messy kind of race. The riders need to be aware at all times. They need to make sure that they go over the change to not risk getting stuck underneath. And then, yeah, try and find some space. So we have the Japanese team here on the front.
And with sprints every 10 laps for those points, 5, 3, 4, 5, 3, 2 and 1, very important to make the changes just at the right time, approaching those sprints to give yourself a maximum slingshot and speed advantage to go for those sprint points. A lot of the teams do struggle to get the timing right just when they are about to change.
Yeah, because if you're in the middle of a change, then that's not ideal. If you're maybe around a lap to go, then at least the rider has time to choose how they want to sprint or what they want to do. But yeah, some teams like to change a bit further out, so 2.5 laps sometimes. Other teams leave it to about 3/4 of a lap to go.
One of the favourites, pre-race favourites from Denmark on the inside, Julie Leth in the red. Would not be surprised to see them in the medals here tonight in the Madison at the Nations Cup in Jakarta.
So about 3 laps to go until the first sprint. So you'll start to see the riders have their final change.
Leth it is that's still on the front for Denmark. They'll start to pick things up a little bit as they come around to get 112 laps to go. So the next time they come to the line, they will get the bell for the first of the intermediate sprints. And there has been a crash, unfortunately. It's one of the British riders and also one of the Japanese riders going down. And the race will continue if they can quickly get out of the inside there and out of the way in any danger. Bell now rings. 111 laps to go. The first sprint, it's Denmark against Sweden and France up around the outside. So Denmark did a lot to set themselves up for this first sprint, but they are fading as they come around the final bend. France will come away with the top points on the first sprint. 5 points it is that go to France. Certainly one of the favourites coming into the race, and they're showing that very quickly from the start.
Yeah, they're very, very strong as a nation, very well drilled. We've got Switzerland straight on the wheel, so it's a risky time straight after a sprint. That's when it's all strung out. People have missed their changes. People are getting organised, so it's a good time to really put the pressure down and potentially get away from the peloton.
Well, a few things are happening here as well. I can see a New Zealand rider that's come off the track as well, and the Japanese rider having a little bit of trouble also after that crash. To the left, you can see there's the British team changing, and that's where it's happened. So they've just clipped the wheel, the 2 riders going down. And when I did say there was an issue with the New Zealand rider, that was the back wheel that they fell over, and I think there was damage to the bike of New Zealand. So that's been quickly changed as well. Rules are a little bit different in the Madison in terms of laps are taken out of the race or not. If you've crashed, your teammate then must go back into the peloton and continue.
They've neutralised
and
the
they
race.
have neutralised the race now simply because the rider that has fallen has not been able to quickly get off the track from the inside. As you can see, they've just gone around there now and getting medical attention. There are just too many people on the inside there creating an obstacle. That could be some potential danger. 107 laps to go in the race and neutral for now until we can tend to the fallen rider.
Just trying to work out which one it is.
I think it was Ikeda.
Yeah, I think that's Yumi.
Yeah, it is. So it's
Very sure she's all right.
Masuki Ikeda, and her teammate has now come down just to check on her and see if she's okay. You can see there's the crash. She's falling awkward.
Yeah.
And just in behind the black colours there of the New Zealander, that's where we see Ikeda just clipping the wheel, and it was near Evans that's during that change that's gone down over the top.
Yeah, this is because it was the final change, so everyone's trying to do their change, which means that you're doubling up along the track. So the Japanese rider was coming up around the outside as the Brits were doing their change, and there was just not enough space. So that's where we need to spread out a little bit more, make sure you do your change where you want it. But these things, they happen so quickly, and you're looking over your shoulder trying to find your teammate. You're looking in front. It's a very tricky one.
And we can see when we did see how Masuki Ikeda was sitting up, but clearly too badly injured to continue. So she's now just been escorted off the track. So it's unfortunate for the Japanese so early in the Madison to be out of the race.
She looks all right. It looks like it's something to do with her knee. So she's thankfully all right, because sometimes these riders do come down pretty hard. So now it's a refresh. We're only one sprint into the race, so there won't be too many tactics changed. It's a shame, though, because these starts are always so messy. It's always nice once you get a few underway for everyone to settle down a bit and relax. Well, relax as much as you can in an event that you're trying to qualify for the World Champs and the Olympics for.
Well, there's our early leaders, the winners of the first sprint for France. Valentine Fortin and Marianne Boras.
This is Bryony Botha. So she's the Team Pursuit gold medalist from last night.
They've had a fantastic start, haven't they, New Zealand? 2 gold medals. Ali Wollaston in both of those, winning the elimination and the Team Pursuit alongside Botha. Silver medal in the men's Team Pursuit as well. So they were leading the medal tally, New Zealand, on gold medals after the first night.
And the Italians, we haven't spoken about them yet. They're always brilliant at this event. They're always in and amongst the mix. They've got a lot of riders that are very good at this event. So this time we've got Martina Fidanza, who is a dual world champion in the scratch race and a Team Pursuit world champion, and Silvia Zanardi. So this is, I think this is actually Silvia, not Martina. There's Martina. Oh yeah. There.
Fidanza and Zanardi for Italy. They get to reassess, rethink things. Only one sprint done, so we can reset and get themselves all ready to go again. And the Olympic rings proudly tattooed. Have you got Olympic rings, Nettie?
I do not. I do not. Thinking about
Nor do
it.
I. Nor do
Actually,
I.
Stephanie Morton
Yeah?
just did the other day. About 2 weeks ago, she sent me a photo.
Shout out to Steph Morton.
Yeah, she'll be watching from home. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? The Olympic rings. Do you get a tat? Do you not? Oh, there's another one. Or is that the same one?
That is Valentine Fortin from France with the Olympic rings. The early leader as we're going in.
There's Michaela Drummond. So they had their wheel fixed, so this will actually suit them having the stop because if you have a mechanical or if you have a crash, the other rider needs to stay in the race. So they can stay in as long as they want, as long as there's someone in the race at once, but that means that one rider will get very fatigued very quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. And if riders do make a mistake and miss a change, and then you have to double up and stay in the race again, often they're riding so close to the red or into the red zone that one missed change completely can ruin a race for a team.
It certainly can. Sometimes you see teams that re-enter if you have one rider that's done multiple laps in a row. When their teammate comes back in, if the teammate's feeling okay, they might actually go in and do a few turns in a row as well, just to let their teammate recover. So just depends on how your team is going throughout the race. You can make the call. Do you come in? Do you swap? Do you do extras? Do you not? So that's where communication in this event is so important. You might not think it, but when you do a hand sling, you actually have a couple of seconds to chat to your teammate. So this is where you will tell them what tactic you want to do, tell them how you're feeling, and yeah, I think communication is very key when there's two of you out there.
They'll come around to get 104 laps to go, and Canada, it's Lily Plunkett that's on the front of the race. And you don't like to spend too much time on the front, but you know she's getting closer to that last change before the next sprint. And you can now she's moved up a little bit. She doesn't want to go. You can see though she doesn't want to go too far back. She wants to stay close to the front to be in contention for the next sprint. They'll come around now. 103 laps to go. And the pace is really starting to pick up as they try to fight for position now for this second of the intermediate sprints.
Yeah, so this is getting hectic. It wasn't much time before the sprint after the restart. We have the British team going to the front in their fluoro helmets, so they'll be there alongside New Zealand, and you've got the French riders right on their wheel. So that was 2 laps to go. We'll be coming in next time around for the bell.
And it was a real tight squeeze there with the change with the French.
Big change from Team Denmark.
And Bell this time as they come through. So the second intermediate sprint, 5 points up for the winner. And Denmark, they went early for the first sprint and then faded on the last lap. Now they've got the timing right as they go down the back straight. Julie left trying to fight off France as they come around the final bend, and she'll be able to do that. 5 points going to Denmark. Importantly though, 3 points to the race leaders in France.
Yep, they're up and around the mix, very well drilled. Do they continue on with this? The splits are starting to show. There's a group of 7 riders now. So do these guys get organised and stay away? They're going to make some decisions pretty quickly though.
I think the pace has come off a little bit as they come down the back straight, but you can see when they fan out here that there is still a gap in the peloton. Even though the leaders have eased off and are recovering, you can see how much the chasing of the second group is still continuing. So you ride too far back, especially in the sprints, the gaps open up, and it's really fatiguing to be in the second half of the peloton. Riding good position towards the front is so important in the Madison races.
Team Switzerland doing their change behind the Kiwis. That's Bryony Botha on the front here.
France lead the way on 7, 1 point ahead of Denmark. New Zealand, we just see them on the front there, they're in third place, equal third place on 3 points, the same as Switzerland, with Spain sitting just behind on 2, and Great Britain the only other team to score a point so far. 2 sprints down, 95 laps to go when they come around the next time. Pace has come off. You can see how they're all bunched right up, so no one too willing to push too early before this next sprint, and Denmark taking the opportunity to come wide around the outside and get back to the front.
Yep, we have Alex Manley up on the top there in the Australian colours. I think she'll start to come around and move to the front before her change with Georgia Baker. You can see Georgia's up on that track there. She's about to drop down.
And another squeeze, I can tell you, as they came past our commentary position. You mentioned the Australians, and because of that squeeze that happened, they got shuffled back a little bit. Now, they missed the first 2 sprints. We would expect them, with their experience and their skill, to make sure they don't miss out on too many sprint points and get themselves back towards the front.
That was Nia Evans coming up the inside. Now she's at the front. She saw a gap and she's gone for it. She's put the pressure down.
Now, she was the rider that was on the deck in that crash, one of the two riders that did go down. You can see the damage on the left-hand side of her body. 92 laps to go. The bell will ring the next time they come around, and Nia Evans from Great Britain, the World Points Race champion, is putting everyone under pressure except for France, who saw the move and they've quickly shut that down. Bell this time, 91 laps to go. Two teams off the front. Denmark also trying to close the gap down, and France straight up around the outside, but it was in the middle of the change, so some extra speed off the change could be the advantage to come from behind, and it's not going to be the case. France take another 5 points. That's 2 sprint wins and a second place. They are dominating so far.
That was Marion Boris. She just went across the line, got the points, and slung her teammate Valentine 14 in. So that's Sophie Lewis on the wheel there, so the two of them have a bit of a gap. New Zealand have noticed the danger here, so Bryony Botha has just closed that gap, as have the Danes. We have Julie Leth coming across now.
And the pace has eased off as Sophie Lewis comes to the front for Great Britain, and that allows everyone else to take a big deep breath and get themselves back in contention. The Australians at the back of that group just about to make a change, and that's 3 sprints now that they have missed out on points. 10 points now to France, the 2 sprint wins, and 13 actually I was going to say. So 2 firsts and a second take them to 13 points, and already after 3 sprints, a very handy lead over Denmark.
So how do we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 12 teams in that front group. 11, I'd say.
86 laps to go this time through, and you can see right up at the back, the up around the outside, it's Nia Evans once again from Great Britain. It was after a fantastic sprint effort, finishing second in that last one, but then drifting back a fair way as well, as we see Michaela Drummond on the front for New Zealand. So the Brits are really yo-yoing from the front to the back and then fighting back around the outside. There we go. There's Nia Evans. You can see just out of shot as we focus on the very front with Bryony Botha.
Yeah, so it looks like everyone's happy to have a sprint fest at the moment. There haven't been any major moves for attacks. The French riders are actually known for that, as well as the Danish. So it will be interesting to see if they start to do that later in the race. So it's still 84 laps to go. So we're only a third of the way into this race. This is where you'll start to see people, starting to feel the pinch.
83 laps to go. The next sprint not too far away. And the pace always picks up in the couple of laps leading into that bell for the intermediates. And it's Botha that's on the front, quick looking over the shoulder, constantly looking to see if anyone's coming from behind. And she'll also be looking across the track to see where her teammate Drummond is and getting herself ready for that next interchange.
And here she comes, she's coming down the track now into the shot.
And there's the change, a lap and a half to go. So Drummond will get the bell as they come around this time. Another 5 points up for grabs, and it's New Zealand with a little bit of a lead over Spain. France, though, again, right up in the mix in third place. Change for Denmark in fourth as they go down the back straight, but New Zealand look like they have a comfortable lead as they come around to the finish line, and it will be 5 points going to New Zealand.
As you see, the French riders are about to do a change now. This is good timing if they want to go off the front. They've decided they're not ready for that just yet. So we have Denmark coming around the outside though. They might have other ideas. And that's Julie Leth, yep.
And Julie was following the French rider as the change was made. You could almost see that she was ready to go, willing to go with the attack if it was going to happen. The French didn't, so the Danish riders have gone on their own over the top. And big question now, who's strong enough to chase them down? They have about a 30-metre gap to New Zealand.
And New Zealand just did go quite deep there for that sprint before. That is the risk when you go deep and hard and then somebody attacks off the front. You need to make sure that you can find a good wheel or have good enough legs to go with them.
To Dexon it is now that comes through. So Amelia on the front. And the gap is starting to open up, but it's the French now that make the change on the front of the peloton, and you can see immediately the increase in speed of the peloton. That's Wayne Pomario just pointing out to everybody here who is leading the race, and it's the Danish team that's definitely off the front being chased down by France.
So that's Valentine Fortin. She sees the danger, as we said before. She's not going to wait for everyone else to do the work. She is on the go, and we have Martina Fidanza on her wheel. So we've got a group of 5 there. Another couple, lots of gaps opening up and people closing them. So every time there's a gap, you have to do a little bit more work. It does sting the legs. That's why you've got to be looking over your shoulder, making sure you see the moves, making sure you can jump on a wheel if they can take you a little bit. But we have Georgia Baker now. She's on the front. She's going for it. As the Swiss have a change behind and the Brits behind her. But this is Julie. They're doing a brilliant job for Team Denmark. She changes with Emily.
Well, we can see the damage that was done to the peloton, and the second half of that peloton now really out of contention at the moment. They'll really need the peloton itself to back off to have any chance to come back into contention. Lewis on the front for Great Britain, but these are the leaders on the track, Denmark. They are riding away with this one. If you take a lap on the field, it's 20 points to your overall tally. They're sitting in third place on 7, so a handy 20 points would be fantastic. But the next sprint is also approaching. So while they'll be chasing the lap and the 20 points gained, they'll also pick up 5 points on their way. As they go around the back straight, the peloton now half a lap behind the Danish leaders. So peloton are sprinting for the scraps, 3, 2 and 1 point. And the change just before the line for Denmark. And Julie Leth comes through to pick up the 5 points. The race for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, it'll be picked up by Great Britain. Nia Evans comes through to pick up the 3 points.
Yeah, she's going for it.
And she's continuing on.
Put the pace down as Italy do their change.
And in the meantime, Julie Leth, or is it Denmark just? Yep, Julie Leth just getting to the back of the second group. So the riders, the teams that were dropped from the peloton, they've got to the back of those. There's confirmation of that last sprint. Denmark, Great Britain, Italy and New Zealand.
Yep, so even though the Danish girls have caught the back of a small group, it's not the pelotons. They're going to have to catch the next group, which has the majority of the riders. So that's still about a third of a lap to go.
And you can see they've immediately gone around the side of the dropped riders to continue on. There's the peloton, not completely strung out. And just coming into view now in the back straight there is the Danish colours. So they'll come around to get 66 laps to go, but they are about to gain a lap on the field. So 20 points will go to the tally of Denmark, and they'll go immediately up to the top spot.
It's a great ride from the two Danish girls. So they'll go straight up to about 32 points. So that will be hard. That'll be hard to beat, but we still have 65 laps to go, so there's still time.
Well, there it is. The lap has been taken by Denmark. Solo lap as well. So super tough job to do it. And the chase was on as well, so it wasn't given to them. And really close there. And the French team almost missing a change.
Well, I think it looked like they might have, but as long as they touch their hands, then that's considered a change. So then the riders can switch over. But if they don't touch hands, you can't switch.
It was an unorthodox change.
It was.
But it was made.
And to be fair, it was brilliant. They stayed up. I think that was the main concern there. There was a touch of wheels, a touch of handlebars, but we have the Kiwis. Michaela Drummond going on the attack.
Skills to pay the bills from France. And they're still sitting in second place overall, but Denmark now on 32. New Zealand trying to do something here as well. The next sprint's not too far away. They'll get the bell the next time around for 61 laps. And Michaela Drummond leads the race with a nice gap as well. She'll be looking around for Brotha, who's about to come in. There's the second place in the overall classification from France. They're sitting in 15 points. But down the back straight, New Zealand just about to make the change. Botha took a long time to come in then, so it was a late change. And Georgia Baker from Australia almost got there, but didn't quite. So New Zealand picked up the 5 points. Australia, first time they've been in the points in second.
So that's Italy going on the move. We've got Silvia Zanardi. So she was in the wheels during that sprint, so she's utilised the Kiwis to get that gap, and now she's going on with it. So she wants to go for a lap.
And a mechanical issue for France. So quick bike change for France.
Ooh, this is actually quite risky.
Yeah, well, the race is really on. You can see all the gaps. They're spread all the way around. And France having some troubles.
So Marianne Boras is in the race for France at the moment, which means that she's got to stay in there until her teammate gets back out on the track.
Well, she did actually touch down, so let's hope that she's not too badly injured as well. But it also puts a lot of fatigue on the rider that must stay in the race. Now, they're back in. You can see the fluorescent helmets, orange helmets. They have changed over, so not too much of a handicap for the rider that did have to stay in the race for that extra length of time.
Yep, and the pace has eased off in that group in front. So Denmark are sitting pretty, so they'll be very happy about the ease in pace. They're going to have a little bit more time to recover. So 56 laps to go. So probably about 3 more changes.
And a very much reduced peloton, bunching up a little bit as they come through. And just a moment of pause. A couple of laps out from the next sprint. And a smaller group so they don't have to fight for position as much as if it was the full peloton. So a moment to take a deep breath for some of these teams, and that's really important for the French in particular after the crash that we didn't see the crash, but there was a crash for the French, so that gives themselves a little bit of time to bring the heart rate back down again. Denmark, though, they lead the peloton, they lead the race overall with 32 points ahead of France, and still pretty close to New Zealand and Great Britain. Australia, the last team with points, 3 points for them. They're in equal 7th position. You can see 2 teams have pulled out of the race and 2 are 1 lap down, minus 20 points, Mexico and Taipei.
So Denmark on the front again as Nia Evans goes over the top. She always comes through with so much speed.
Well, they'll get the bell the next time around. So it's an early change, though, considering that the sprint is as they come around this time for the bell. So it's going to be a long way for Lewis to sprint to pick up the points, but it looks like she's got the speed. Alex Manley in second position as they go down the back straight. So Great Britain lead Australia, and Manley up around the outside. They've only been in 1 sprint for 3 points. And Australia now will pick up 5 points. Will they go on with it? Has that been the tactic the whole time, Annette Edmondson? Don't go for the early sprints, but go for the lap later.
I think it looks like it. She just looked over her left shoulder and saw there was a bit of a gap. Canada swung up, which is unfortunate timing for France. So Denmark are straight on the threat. They knew that this could happen. They were watching for this, and they were straight on that wheel. France has luckily made that gap as Georgia Baker, number 8, black number, has been slung in.
France immediately over the top. They see that there is a nice little group off the front here and willing to go on with it, although Denmark is in this group. And France, if they want to beat Denmark, they need to take a lap over the top, perhaps, of Denmark.
Yeah, this is actually a race between Australia and France and Denmark, and now we've got another couple of riders come across. So they've actually caught Chinese Taipei and Mexico, who were a lap down. So there's probably a group of 4. This is where it gets tricky.
Well, Great Britain have also
made it across.
Just about to make it across as well. Yeah, exactly. It was Italy, New Zealand, a little bit of work to do. They're just out of shot, about to get onto the back now as well. They make a change at the top of the screen there. So Michaela Drummond closing that final gap to the lead group.
So 45 laps to go. They're 2/3 of the way into this race. There are double points on the final sprint as well, so there's still quite a few points up for grabs.
Oh, and we've seen the final standings change so often at international level on those double points in the final sprint. It's so important to make sure that you race right down to the line the last time around. Another change for France in front. 44 laps to go, getting closer to the next intermediate sprint. Handy lead that the Danes have over France, still very close between 2nd, 3rd and 4th. There's Lewis changing to Evans. And immediately as the change happens, Nia Evans, you can see the body language, accelerating up around the outside.
So that was 43 to go. So she's going to try and go to the front, because the next time she sees Sophie Lewis, she's going to want to be slinging her in for the sprint. So that was a late change, which means that they'll be slinging Sophie in probably within 3/4 of a lap to go. So it'll be a short sprint for them, which means they need to be further up at the front.
First change at the front, though. Australia, very tight squeeze as France goes over the top. Great Britain as well. So the next sprint, here it is, and perfectly timed change for France, right at the bell. Fantastic performance there. Valentine Fortin that goes down the back straight. It's Georgia Baker from Australia that's fighting to stay on the wheel to pick up some points here as well. Can Baker come around the outside of Fortin? And no, she cannot. So Fortin and France picking up another 5 points ahead of the 3 points on offer there for Australia. Denmark still in the mix, so they keep picking up points as well. They were 3rd across the line, lead the overall standings.
That was Marion Boris. Both the French girls, they're very similar. I think that's the benefit of having 2 sprinters. It doesn't matter who's in, because often in the order, or when you do a change, there's probably about 3 changes within 10 laps, which means that you alternate sprinters. So having 2 riders that are of similar size and weight and ability does have a major advantage.
38 laps to go now. And there's a few nations that have been invisible for the last part of the race. Australia's starting to come up a little bit. Denmark continuing to be in the mix, and France really dominating, but it's that lap gained by Denmark and the 20 points that they gained from it that's put them in the box seat to come away with the gold medal. 37 laps to go now.
Great Britain 11, Australia 11.
Move up around the outside, the blue colours from Italy. They've been fairly quiet tonight as well. Fidanza and Zanardi. This is Martina Fidanza up around the outside. The USA as well, just coming up over the top and making their change. We haven't seen too much from the team from the United States of America.
It's Colleen Gulick and Lily Williams, bronze medalist in team pursuit.
Another moment of pause, deep breath, get themselves ready and think about where this next sprint is. Where do we need to make the change to give ourselves the best advantage to go for the 5 points on offer?
35 laps to go.
Pushing through is France once again. 3 wide, and as soon as the French riders come up around the outside, then just backed off a little bit. Not wanting to go too soon. And Ireland in the green colours now, trying to get themselves up into the mix as well. We haven't seen too much from the Irish team, so great to see them. That's Lara Gillespie and Alice Sharp. And this is Gillespie it is that comes around, makes the change now to Alice Sharp. 33 laps to go.
I think Alice Sharp was in the UCI cycling program for a couple of years.
And it's a bit of a drag race to make sure they stay in position at the front. Zanardi on the outside for Italy. Move from Dideksen from Denmark, and a change to Julie Leth in the red colours. France once again making sure they're not too far behind as well. 31 laps to go now, so the next intermediate sprint is on offer. And it's Fidanza from Italy now that's going to lead down the back straight. Italy, France, Denmark. And Denmark coming up around the outside of France as well. So Italy take the 5 points. Denmark getting second and 3 points as well. So that's significant, showing some strength immediately over the top of the French to pick up an extra point from them. So 39 points, I think it is now, for Denmark.
Yeah, they're looking very strong. Very recovered after their early lap.
Well, the big question now, with the points lead that Denmark have, and 28 laps to go as they come back around, they just showed them that they can win sprint points over the top of France. So what's the tactic now that France has to put into the track as well? They need to try and get some points from somewhere to close that margin down.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah, so Denmark have recovered enough. So it is, if they're feeling good enough and they're in amongst the mix, then you have to go and get those points. I think it's smart to maybe sit on the wheels and get easy points, as in, so go for the thirds, not hit out too strong, but keep chipping away, so then your number still keeps going up. Then it takes off the pressure later on for them to have to get points. So as we said before, there are double points for the final sprint. If France gets the final sprint now, they'll bump them up to 33, which means they'd only be 6 points behind. So France is still in this, as are New Zealand. So it's it's interesting to see Denmark just making sure that they're chipping away. I think it's a smart move.
Certainly a big race still for the bronze medal as well. New Zealand on 16 with a 5-point lead over Italy, Great Britain and Australia, but still plenty of points on offer. 20 points in total if you win the last 3 sprints.
The event women's medicine final.
.24 laps to go. They'll come around to get 23. They'll start to set themselves up again now for the next intermediate sprint. And this is going to be important for this team. Oh, that's not good for France. They need to get points in these next sprints, and they've just missed a change. So that's going to be really tough now for Barras to stay in this race. At least the pace was off a little bit. But now as they accelerate for this next sprint, that was not good for the French team to miss a change at a crucial point in this race. Valentine Fortin now out of the race. She'll be trying to ride as slow as she possibly can now to make this change. But they will be getting the bell the next time they come around. Great Britain it is that leads down the back straight. They will hear the bell. Where's Valentine Fortin from France? Can she make the change and still contest this sprint? I don't think she's going to be able to.
Yep, here she comes in, but they've lost the wheel a little bit. We have Sophie Lewis on the front for this sprint. She's looking good as the Swiss make their change. That means that Denmark are going to have to around the outside.
And it's going to be 5 points to Great Britain. And look at that. Across the line in 4th place, France did pick up a point, but only one. And Denmark, though, were ahead of them. So that was a really unfortunate situation for France in particular.
And she's gone straight around. She's gone off the front. They're going for it.
Well, there's some anger in that move now on the track from the French team. And this is really now the tactic. If they want to win the race, this is what they have to do. It's going to be a race now between France and Denmark. And we saw this is the problem here. And just going up as she went to put her hand out to change, got
She almost hit the wheel.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was a tactical move. Better to stay on the bike than off the bike. But they've gone hard, but Denmark are straight on that wheel. They aren't letting anybody leave the island. I've got to give it to the French, though. That's awesome. Like they weren't settling for silver. They've gone for gold. So.
Oh, that was an angry attack, absolutely.
It was, but the problem is it was made by Valentine Fortin, who was the fresh one who missed the change, whereas Marion Boris, she'd been in for 2 in a row, so she would have to be feeling all right to be able to go on with it. But as you can see, it has come back together. There are about 7 teams there that have made this. The Brits have actually missed it, so they're going to have to close that gap. But I think it won't be long. They're about to do this thing as the paces come off. So
yeah, it has, hasn't it? They'll come around to get 15 laps to go. 2 more sprints, 15 points maximum on offer. And an 18-point advantage Denmark has over France at the moment. 8 points further back to Great Britain. And you can see New Zealand and Great Britain tied in equal 3rd place on 16. Italy and Australia equally on 11 as well. Another move now from France. This is Fortin as well. The Swiss team hard on the wheel. Where's Denmark? A little bit further back. So while France is going hard on the front here, Denmark just following the wheels in front. So advantage to Denmark in this situation. Great Britain, though, sitting in 3rd place. So there are our 3 medalists as it stands. Denmark, France and Great Britain. New Zealand in the black colours sitting in 4th place, or equal 3rd place. So also hunting a bronze. 12 laps to go as they come around. So just over 1 lap until the penultimate sprint bell will sound. And it's New Zealand that's going to lead through. Some nervous looks on the faces of the team staff. There's not much more they can do, though, from the inside. All the preparation is done coming into it. They can scream out instructions as much as they want. But as they come into the penultimate sprint, it is going to be Italy that lead their way through. Out of the saddle, flying around down the back straight. Yeah. It's going to be possibly a comfortable win. New Zealand trying to chase them down as well. For Zanardi, it is that's going to pick up the 5 points, perhaps. It certainly will. So Zanardi picks up the 5 for Italy. New Zealand, 2nd, 3 points for them. France were back in the mix and also Australia. So 2 points to France, but the maximum, that went to Italy. 1 more sprint to go.
So New Zealand have slid up into 3rd place. But as we say, it's 9 laps to go. We have double points for this final sprint. So there are, I think the top 6 teams are still in it. So Australia, if they get double points, they'll bump up to 22 points. So they can still get the bronze medal if New Zealand doesn't place.
One thing, though, with 8 laps to go, barring an accident, there are not enough points now left or not enough time to take a lap. So Denmark will win the gold medal. Race still is open for silver, definitely, though, for the bronze. 7 laps to go when they come around this next time. USA lead the way. And as they just made the change.
Lee and Lily Williams.
7 to go.
This is exciting. France, New Zealand, Italy, Great Britain, Australia, all in play for the bronze medal. And there could be an upset for this, for the silver.
It would be a dramatic upset, but it's certainly mathematically possible that France does not come away with the silver medal here. Denmark, they are locked in the gold medal position if they can stay upright. We expect them to be able to do that. They make their change in 7th position. Moving up around the outside, though, Julie Leth, I think it was, that's just making sure she's going to stay up and out of any harm's way. 5 laps to go now, coming into the final kilometre, and this is a race for the podium now between these big teams.
Bryony Botha on the front, slinging in Michaela Drummond. 5 laps to go. If they win this final sprint, they can get second. If Italy and Great Britain win, then the French can't get a place, and they can still get second.
Still everything to offer them in this final sprint. New Zealand, Drummond it is that's really going early now. They'll come around to get 3 laps to go. And look how the peloton has been blown to pieces by the acceleration from Michaela Drummond from New Zealand. It is Fortin from France that sits in second position. Going up around the outside. Italy still there as well. So France, by the effort they're putting in here with 2 laps to go, they are guaranteeing themselves that they will get the silver medal. The gold, that's already gone. It's going to Denmark. It's been an incredible ride by them as we go down the back straight, the bell the time as they come around this time. And there's the final change for France. They will be sprinting for the 10 points on offer. They will be getting the silver medal at the end of this race. What's going to happen for the bronze, though? That's definitely still in the mix. France, Italy, New Zealand, then it's the United States of America. So New Zealand, I think, might be able to get those 10 points to go to Italy, 6 points go to France, then it's 4 points for New Zealand, and in the final shuffle, after the double points final sprint, Italy jump up into the bronze medal position ahead of New Zealand. So right at the final throw, Italy came from the clouds to get themselves a bronze medal. That's a fantastic performance, but the best one, that went to Denmark.
Wow, that was awesome. So French, they did well to get second. That saved them from losing the silver. The Italians snuck up into third, but Denmark, that was all class. Congratulations to Julie Lett and Anneli Didriksen. This is what they know how to do. They know how to ride a Madison. They take a lap. They can also sprint. That was a dominant performance from the two of them.
Well, I would say gutsy, and the top 3, all 3 teams had gutsy rides. France had a little crash as well, came back to make sure they stayed on the podium, and Italy, as I said, came from the clouds to get the bronze medal. New Zealand would be disappointed. They tried to set themselves up for that final sprint and just got run down on the final lap. They finished in 4th place.
Yeah, they gave it a red-hot crack. They knew what was up for grabs. I think maybe could have looked over the shoulder a little bit because the French were straight on that wheel, so they had a nice sit for about 4 laps or so. So it was a good idea, but yeah, they just had to look over the shoulder a little bit. But yeah, good on them for having a crack. They were right in the mix. 4th place is a pretty nice result for them.
And here it is coming around the final bend. Fortin, who was the rider that did have the touchdown earlier in the night, and up around the outside to look over the shoulder as well. She wasn't sure where she was. It was daylight in behind her. So there's 10 points to her. France second across the line, 6 points. And there's the bronze medal coming from behind to pick up the bronze in that final sprint. Great sprinting, great riding from all of them.
That was awesome. Great race.
It is.
Hope everyone else was able to follow along with us. Sometimes I did get distracted looking at the velodrome, so apologies if I didn't talk about what was actually on the screen. Get carried away in this role. It's very exciting.
That's the first gold medal for Denmark here at the UCI Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia. And a brilliant ride from Emily and Julie.
They are the Olympic silver medalists in the Madison.
So sometimes when a lap is taken, it's not gifted, but it can be a sneaky lap. That wasn't the case here. They were chasing hard to try and get the Danes back, but they had to fight against the peloton, and France in particular, to steal that lap over the peloton, give them the 20 points extra bonus, and then had enough to sprint head-to-head against the French team just to consolidate the lead that they'd built up. Brilliant riding. I do love the skills. I love to see the development, and knowing that the international level Madison racing hasn't been around for the women that long at this level. But the skill development has been extraordinary in that period.
Yeah, I think 2017 was the first time it was introduced as a World Championship event for women. So it's been around for a very long time for the men. So this was a major, major moment for women's cycling when that was introduced. But then, as you say, because it wasn't an event, it was never raced throughout the junior ranks. So with the men, they would always have the under-19s, they would almost do it in the under-17s, and everyone would be practicing. Whereas with the ladies, there was no point because there was no racing on offer. So we've had to upskill ourselves in a very short space of time.
Well, hopefully they've taken a deep breath and recovered a little bit so we can go down to the infield and talk to our Madison champions from Denmark. What a great performance it was.
Congratulations, Denmark. Congratulations, Denmark, at the win with the UCI Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia. How does it feel to win?
Pretty good. You know, I guess cycling, you actually don't win that much. So I think I just learned to cherish it every time it happens. And yeah, I think we can be pretty happy with the race. We executed our plan and yeah, it went our way today.
An incredible win in this event. Talk us through the strategy for the both of you.
In the beginning, we wanted to be well positioned in the sprints to get points and stay out of trouble because it's a big peloton today. We did that very well, and then we saw a good moment to attack and gain the lap. And from there on, it was all about controlling our lead and stay calm. And I'm really happy about how we raced. It's the beginning of the Olympic qualification, so it's really important for us. And yeah, we're really happy to take a
bronze medal for the women's sprint.
Congratulations on your win. Thank you.
On the track now, the first of the best of three for the women's bronze medal race, and it's an all-British affair. Sophie Capewell versus Emma Finucane. Two laps to go as they come through. And it's Finucane that's in the first position. Capewell sitting in second. They know each other very well indeed, obviously as training partners, but Finucane it is. Capewell just trying to weave up and down the track a little bit. Capewell slightly faster in the qualifying round, but one lap to go now. You can throw that out the window. It's all about tactics. Who wants it more? It's a bronze medal on offer. This is the first of the best of three, and it's Capewell that comes up around the outside. Finucane, a little bit of extra time out of the saddle to get to maximum speed, and she's trying to fight on the inside to hold off Capewell. Didn't quite achieve it, though. It's going to go to the photo, but I think it was Capewell on the outside that got to the line first.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was awesome. Really close racing by the two of them. As you say, they'll know each other very well. They would have trained with each other, raced with each other time and time again at the national championships, just at training camps. So, yeah, this is it's always. Oh, and she also did come a little bit outside of the red line, as you see there.
Don't tell anyone. They may not be listening. But a gutsy ride from both. I thought she might have been able to hold off on the inside for Finucane, but Capewell, nice and clean into the finishing straight. And similar builds, big throw to the line, and on the outside there, indeed, Capewell just getting to the line first. So one up in the best of three for Sophie Capewell, 24-year-old from Great Britain, up against the youngster. But gee, she's an emerging talent, Emma Finucane, from a 20-year-old, Welsh lass. And there's been so much talk about Finucane in particular because of her rate of development over the last 18 months.
Yeah, bronze in team sprint 2022 World Championships, 2 silver medals at the European Champs, 2 silver in Birmingham. Sophie Capewell with similar results, to be honest. She's got a silver and a bronze recently at the European Champs 2 weeks ago. That's Sophie Capewell there.
Coming up, competing for gold, Matilde Gross will be facing...
One more race to a bronze medal for Sophie Capewell. Can Emma Finucane do something about that and take it to a decider? Onto the race now for the women's sprint gold and silver medals. It's the world champion Mathilde Gros up against Leah Friedrich from Germany. France versus Germany. Jan van Eyden, former Keirin world champion, doing the honours of holding Leah up at the start line. And Gregory Bourget, former world sprint champion himself, doing the same job for Mathilde Gros. You have mentioned the focus on the face, the scary focus of the world champion whenever she is preparing for these sprints. It's quite intimidating.
Yeah, I was down in the pits earlier today, and I think if she was in casual clothes, I think she would have waved. But I looked at her, and she was just didn't look at anybody in the eye as she walked past. She had a serious face on, walked straight over to where she was going. She's on a mission, and this was in the earlier round. So we're now into the finals. She's obviously got a routine, so I'm sure she stuck to it. And yeah, she means business. She's got the world champion stripes across her back. But she's up against Sophie Friedrich, so she's very experienced as well. Both 23 years of age, both fierce competitors. Sophie's also been world champion in the sprint. Three team sprint world titles, 2 500s and 2 Kieran world titles. So never in the sprint, actually.
Out of the saddle now. 1.5 laps to go. A little bit of height being taken by Mathilde Gros. Just trying to get that little bit of speed for free. The higher up the track you can go, the more downhill you get as a run towards the line. But it's Friedrich that comes to the bell in front. Nice little gap, though, is in the slipstream. Mathilde Gros down the back straight, comfortably up to the shoulder of Friedrich around the final bend. Can she hold it all the way into the finishing straight, get the downhill run? And that's one up in the best of 3 for the world champion, Mathilde Gros. She gets the win, and that was a confidence builder as well. Such a strong victory.
Yeah, look at her face. She's serious. There's no celebrating here. She's ready for another race. I think that's the beauty of the clear bars. You can really see the determination written across her face. She worked hard down that back straight. I haven't actually seen her body move like that, so she really had to work to get that speed up. Here you can see side to side as she comes up and around.
Well, the closing speed into the back wheel of Friedrich was so quick that she bounced up around shoulder to shoulder through this bend. And with the extra height, if you come in equal into the final straight, it's the rider on the outside that has that higher run downhill towards the finish line. Extra speed gained as she comes down the finishing straight.
Look how close they are.
Foot off the accelerator there, halfway down the front straight.
Throw to the line.
I think that was more theatrics than anything.
Just in case. Just in case.
Comfortable win for the world champion. One up in the best of 3 in the race for the gold medal. She has one hand on the Nations Cup gold here in Jakarta, and she get that second hand on it in the next race when they come back out.
Sophie Friedrich, like I said, not quite in the sprint, but she's 7 world titles. I mean, come on, she's 23 years of age. It's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. There you go. There's the Jakarta International Velodrome from above. It's not thunderstorming on this evening.
Well, it has been very wet. It is the wet season here in Indonesia. Temperatures in the high 20s, 28, 27, 29 around Celsius, but 80 to 90% humidity inside the velodrome. So it is a little bit sticky in here, but certainly nice and warm. On to the men's Omnium elimination race coming up next. This is the standings after the first 2 disciplines. The tempo was the last one we saw, and of course before that was the scratch race. And leading the way very comfortably at the moment, Lindsay de Velde from Belgium. Let's see what he can do now in the elimination. We saw the individual elimination races last night for both the men and the women. And now they get to do it again in the Omnium series as the 3rd discipline in the 4-discipline competition that's known as the Omnium. The points race will be the next one up for them. Matthias Gillemette from Canada, just getting himself up onto the fence.
So the elimination, we saw a bit of this on the first night. So it was a standalone event on Friday. So we had men's and women's races. They were won by Aya Hashimoto, who's actually in this race now, and Ali Wilson from New Zealand. So this race is all about not being last across the line. So every 2 laps, they'll ring a bell, and it means the next lap, whoever is last across the line will be eliminated. So this is where it gets really exciting because everybody is fighting for gaps that aren't there. You might see people taking risks, people trying to squeeze up on the duck board, which is the blue inner line. There are definitely rules in place, so you can't actually increase your position if you are on the duck board. So yeah, it's all about whether you want to ride from the back, whether you want to sit in the aerodynamics and pip people on the line, or whether you prefer to ride from the front, take the wind and be out of the danger, or do you like to do a combination of the two? So It's always nice to have an option to be able to move out and around, but that's where you'll see the peloton constantly flowing.
Final words from Coach Kenny de Kertler, recently retired from the professional ranks of cycling, to his man, Lindsay de Wilde. Second place overall, Sebastian Mora from Spain. He's down at the bottom of the track. So there's the leader from Belgium. Here's third place, Campbell Stewart, the former world Omnium champion, silver medalist at the Olympic Games in this discipline at the Tokyo Olympic Games. And then down on the bottom of the track beside, underneath him is Will Tidwell from Great Britain, sitting in fourth place. Ollie Wood is in fifth place. He's just third up and on the fence. Big swing onto the handrail there for Ollie Wood to get himself up and going in the team of Great Britain colours. And we have an issue right from the start. You can see Mora not pedalling his bike, meaning he has broken his chain. So snap the chain off the start line. So you can hear the sound of the gun just neutralising the race while they tend to Sebastian Mora. Now, no brakes on these bikes as well. So if you break a chain, then there is no way to stop. You must grab a handler and have them come out to get you. It's quite an unnerving feeling, rolling around the track with a broken chain with no way to stop your bike.
Yeah, you can put your feet down and skid and get rid of all your cleats.
Well, there he is on the inside, so they were able to grab him as he came around, and quickly you can see the Spanish colours of the team staff frantically running around the infield to find that spare bike for him.
Yeah, it looks like they've got one there. Oh, yeah. Oh, and they want to put the chain on. Will he jump on the spare bike or will they fix the chain? This can be a bit frustrating because the elimination is such an intense start. Everybody's sprinting off the start. Everyone's heart's pumping.
Well, you can see that there is a difference between his race bike and the spare bike. So it's not an identical replacement for him. There's your chain, sir. So they may try and take the time. Yep. If the officials allow it, they may take the time to actually replace that chain. The spare bike that they've brought up might not actually be his spare bike. It's just a bike that might be a similar size. Otherwise, they would have just jumped on it. If it was like for like, I think they would have just jumped on that spare. That's not the case. So Wayne Pomaro just pulling the riders up. They'll do a restart and allow Sebastian Mora, who is sitting in second place overall, to get that bike sorted.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing that didn't happen out in the race. It's much better to happen right at the start.
Absolutely, yes. If it happened during the race, then you could almost be guaranteed it would have caused a crash. That's not the case, so that's fantastic.
So riders lining up again. Time to relax a little bit.
Change of skin suit there for Philip Heinen from the Netherlands, the man that crashed in the tempo race. He was the winner of that particular discipline. João Matias. He sits in 8th position in the overall standings, Matias, from Portugal.
Campbell Stewart.
And rides for the Jayco Alula professional team on the road.
Ah, there we go. Time for some fans. Ollie Wood looking very relaxed there.
Obliging the selfie.
It's a pretty cool thing about this sport, getting up close and personal with the athletes.
Oh, and it's very different from watching it on television to being at a velodrome and seeing just how fast these riders go. It really is spectacular. If you get the opportunity, if you haven't been to track cycling before, if there's a Nations Cup or a National Championships or World Championships, Olympics, etc., make sure you get to a velodrome because it is such an incredible experience for the fans.
Yeah, if you go for a walk around that track up at this bend, this track is up to 42 degrees. So if you put your arm at 42 degrees and think about riders riding around on an angle like that, it's actually pretty steep. So yeah, it's not until you actually get out and ride around it that you realise, yeah, it's quite a strange sport, really.
Daniel Christa in the blue colours, and it looks like we're all set to go. Mora is on the start line and we're underway once more. So change of chains. Fixed things up there for the rider in second place in the overall standing, Sebastian Mora from Spain. And no issues this time around. Hopefully it hasn't damaged his confidence in the equipment in any way.
Nah, I'm sure he's straight back in. Trust those mechanics. They know what they're doing. Been around a while, and there's no time for that because you're too busy looking at the wheel in front of you. So, as you see, it's on from the gun.
Well, fight for position, and we've seen an Omnium eliminations in the past. Riders that think they're going to be in contention for the overall standings can get caught out and eliminated early. So we've had the bell for the first elimination lap, and we look towards the back of the peloton now, and we can actually see Ollie Wood from Great Britain right down underneath on the inside. That's
spot.
not where you want to be. And
Ooh,
across the
it might have
top,
been.
it was right down the bottom there. I'll wait for confirmation.
Rotem Tene.
Great Britain eliminated.
Oh, that was close between those two.
We're focusing on Tene, but it was Ollie Wood.
Oh,
It was Ollie Wood. So he was sitting in 5th place in the overall standings. That's the danger of being underneath. You get a good slipstream down there, but you can get eliminated early. So that's a surprise to see Ollie Wood go out so early. Philip Heinen now, winner of the tempo race. How much did the crash hurt him? Because he doesn't look like he's in good shape as he comes to the elimination lap.
ooh, was that Campbell Stewart from New Zealand? It was close between him and Rotem. Oh no, it's Malaysia.
Rider from Malaysia.
Different black skin suit. Oh, that would have upset, and that would have been another major upset.
Heart skipped a beat for anyone from New Zealand watching,
Yep.
think it may have been Campbell Stewart, but it wasn't. Malaysian rider is the second one to be eliminated.
So Mexico's working hard to get around. We've got Rotem Tene. He's survived another. Oh, yep, there he is.
10-8 it is that
Yep.
goes this time.
Yep, it was close the last few rounds.
Pina from Mexico did enough around the outside, but when you have to ride so high, so there's 10-8 just coming out. Gillimet from Canada fighting to get himself back in, but the Mexican rider Pina, you can see now struggling at the back. He put in such a big effort riding 6-7 wide around the outside that's now starting to cost him this time as they come through around for another elimination lap. Once again, Pena having to ride so high on the velodrome and not going to be in the race much longer. So there he goes. The Mexican rider is the next to go.
I would say Aya Hashimoto, he's on the inside at the bottom. I think it's time that he needs to move. There he is at the bottom. We'll get the bell this lap, so no one's out this lap, but next lap they will. So I think he'll realize and move on up. Oh no, he's had enough.
Hashimoto may
I thought
have...
there was an elimination.
I think he thought he was being disqualified for riding on the blue band. They let it go last time. Doesn't matter now. He's made an easy decision for the judges. So Hashimoto, the winner of the gold medal in the elimination last night, is now out of the elimination within the Omnium. Just a bit of confusion there for Aya. That's really disappointing for him.
Yeah, it's a shame when you finish a race with energy left. It's not how you want to go.
Davide Boscaro now from Italy, fighting to stay in the race. He should be okay. We'll look down to the bottom. And Colby Langer is in a dangerous position for the United States, and also, more dangerous though...
That was Kluger.
It was Roger Kluger. Wait for confirmation. Because while we focus on who's the last rider across the line, there could be an infringement down the bottom, but it was indeed Roger Kluger that's eliminated.
Wow.
Boscaro, once again, the Italian. Body language not indicating that he's feeling as good as he'd like to be. Graham Frisley from Australia now in a bit of trouble.
Yep.
Just trying to keep himself in. It might have been Frisley, I think. You can see how tight it is when they're trying to push themselves through gaps that do not exist.
It's between him and Tim Waffler that were close, I reckon.
Yeah, Frisley it was. They've given it to Frisley. There you go, the final wheel of the zip disc wheel going across the line. So there's Graham Frisley from Australia out.
I reckon Langer's in a rough position. He's on the inside at the bottom.
Boscaro as well. Davide Boscaro.
Yeah, he might be able... Oh, no, don't...
He's looking for a gap that's not going to exist when they get to the line.
No.
And it's Boscaro the next to go.
That's it. He chose the inside, but the inside hasn't been working for many people at the moment. I think this, because of the long straight, a lot of riders have time to move on past. So if you've got nowhere to go, then you're at the disadvantage.
Well, these elimination laps, they come thick and fast every two. You've got to fight for position to not be eliminated. Then straight away, you're into it again. Matias from Portugal being told by his coaching staff, get up around the outside. He's doing exactly that. So Matias will get himself out of the danger zone. But that puts the overall leader very close to being eliminated. I think it was Thibault from Switzerland. It was.
Yeah, that was close. Very, very close.
Valette Thibault from Switzerland, the next to go. But that was not very good from Lindsay de Vilde. He needs to get himself out if he wants to keep himself in this bike race.
Yeah, he's moving up. He's moving up around the outside.
Philip Hagen now from the Netherlands.
Yep.
Last rider across the line. He's going to keep himself in, so that's not too bad. Heinen stays in. Christa is the next to go.
Number 51.
Daniel Christa.
As we're dwindling down now, bunch is a lot more easy to navigate, but the legs will be tired now.
Well, right down on the inside, we see the Spanish colours of Sebastian Mora. Second in overall standings. He has nowhere to move. If the riders come around the outside now, Mora's going to be in a lot of trouble. He might just hold on. That was really close.
Between him and Portugal.
Mora it is. They have given it to Mora. So the second place in the overall standings has been eliminated. That's a disaster for the Spaniard. Yep, there it is. A couple of centimetres. That's all it takes. Well, he'll be disappointed with himself for that one. That's going to be tough to come back from in the points race still to come, knowing that Lindsay de Vilde still in the hunt here for maximum points. And down the bottom, Tim Waffler. It was from Germany.
Austria.
Austria, sorry, yes. Speaks German, I'm sure, though, being
Yes,
Austrian.
I am very sure. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 left. 10 riders left.
The Österreicher out of the race. Tim Waffler, the next elimination.
With Thomas Boudard at the back. He's given a bit of space, but as soon as they start to single out and add a bit of gaps, then it's a lot harder for the ones at the back to keep moving forward. So when it's all bunched up, you can afford to be at the back, but yeah, this is a lot of work. Ooh, I reckon he's out. That was the 2014 Omnium World Champion, so he'll be disappointed with that. He's won a lot of eliminations, so yeah, that was a tough one.
Well, you see how wide he was, right up at the fence coming down the finishing straight, so having to cover so much extra ground as well. Campbell Stewart in a dangerous position now for New Zealand on the inside.
Yep.
Right up in the overall standings, sitting in third place. The black colours at the back of the bunch. Matthias trying to box him in. So the rider from Portugal can see the push and shove. No. Campbell Stewart desperate to get himself out.
Oh!
He was able to do it.
That was Philip Heinen.
So Philip Heinen, the one next to go.
So that's the thing. You think you're okay, and then the other people realise how desperate a situation they're in, and they make a move. So it's just constantly changing.
Well, a big move from Campbell Stewart because he was in the danger zone and had to use his physical force to push his way out from Matthias from Portugal to open up the gap.
He's got a bit of work to do.
De Vilde trying to come around Colby Lang from the USA. He'll do it successfully. So it's Colby that goes out this time. And De Vilde playing with fire at the back of the group.
Lang has come from skiing. His dad's the national ski coach, or was.
Well, for a skier, he's ridden very well indeed here. De Vilde around the outside. He can really gain some big points over the previous second place overall, Sebastian Mora. Campbell Stewart still there, though. So De Vilde coming up over the top now. Keep himself in the race. It doesn't matter. At the back of the group, though.
Canada, I reckon.
Gillimet it is at the bottom. The Canadian. Nowhere to go. Boxed in underneath.
So Belgium, Britain, Portugal, New Zealand, Denmark.
And here's a challenge, though, because Gillimet has not been given out, so he's continued on, and they actually said it was Matthias. So they've taken Matthias out. He had obviously infringed in some way. So the Portuguese rider is out of the race. Gillimet hangs on for just one more lap, out this time.
And this is the problem. When you think you're out, you might relax, and then by the time it's time to switch back on, then sometimes it's game over already. So it's just a super messy type of race. But the riders do have a box on their handlebars which flashes when you're out, and that's why a lot of them know when they're out.
5 riders left now, next elimination lap. And once again, the Belgian, he's gone to the front, he's gone to the back, he's gone to the front again, and now caught underneath. This is danger zone for the overall race leader, Lindsay de Vilde. Hansen leads them across the line, but it's the Belgian that is not going to get maximum points from the elimination race. Not too bad for him, though, because he scored so well in the first two disciplines. Round of applause that was given by his coach, Kenny de Kettler. 4 more riders now.
So Vincent Hopperzak, he's a Dutch rider in the beat skin suit. So one of the trade teams to allow more riders from countries to participate.
He's in the danger zone, Nettie. Hopperzak it is that's going to be not putting up too much of a fight. So he's the next one to go, and that leaves 3. Campbell Stewart, William Tidball, and Tobias Hansen from Denmark. There's the Dane, just popping up around the outside. So Tidball hasn't been seen that much in this race. So he's been riding really well. Great tactical riding from Tidball. Now Stewart trying to box Tidball in. And look at this for a race down the back straight. So Hansen doesn't have to go full gas here because they have a rider in the pocket, and that's Tidball. Campbell Stewart riding incredibly smart to tactically outmaneuver the British rider. Will Tidball is out.
At that moment, he has to either reverse and go around the outside, but that's really hard to do on those gears and at that point in that race. So that's either that or take a squeeze for the gap, but he didn't, and he's given it to Tobias Hansen versus Campbell Stewart. Campbell Stewart, the 2019 Omnium World Champion. Tobias Hansen, 20 years of age. It's a drag race. Campbell Stewart has the inside line. He's looking over his shoulder. He's got this all under control.
Down the back straight. He looks in absolute control here, Campbell Stewart. The former world champion just easing away down the front straight. So there's the maximum points win for getting the elimination victory for Campbell Stewart. And that's going to be very handy now when we see the overall standings, knowing that Lindsay de Vilder was eliminated a few laps earlier. So great riding there from Campbell Stewart. And I loved how he manoeuvred Tidball into a position to tactically put him out of the race. Good ride also there by Tobias Hansen from Denmark to finish second.
Yeah, it takes a lot of confidence to do a move like that. When your natural instinct is to just go and look after yourself, but he saw the moment and he just blocked him in there, was able to relax and it worked. As you can see, it kept his legs fresh. Now he's a sprint against Tobias Hansen.
Well, Hansen also would have recognised what Stewart was doing in that previous elimination and realised that they had a rider that was boxed in, so they were both sort of in control, in cahoots a little bit, working together to then push Tidball out and get eliminated. So great riding from all of these riders. And Campbell Stewart, the former world champ, the silver medalist at the Olympic Games in the Omnium in Tokyo, puts himself in the box seat to go for the victory here in the Nations Cup in Jakarta. That was great racing.
It was awesome. We're about to see the standings.
He's holding on at the top. So de Vilder from Belgium, Campbell Stewart moving up into second position with the ride from Mora, pushing himself down a little bit. Tidball still, though, up in third place by him. So that's a good ride. And you can see further down the standings.
That cost Oliver Wood down into 11th from 4th.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate one for him. And we said at the start, didn't we? This is the race where tactically something goes wrong, bam, you're out early, you miss out on so many points, and it can completely ruin your chances in the overall standings. On to the women's sprint finals again. This is the second race in the best of 3. Emma Finucane and Sophie Capewell, with Capewell one up in their race. So one hand on the bronze medal for Capewell. Finucane needs to do something to try and take it to that decider. Capewell, near of camera. All using very similar equipment, except for Finucane has that blue stripe on the top of her helmet. So a way to differentiate the two. Blue stripe for Finucane, plain white helmet for Capewell. Capewell leads away. Finucane in second position. Emma must win this to take it to a decider to give herself a chance of getting the bronze. But gee, in the last round, that first race, Capewell really did look in control.
Yeah, she did. She's here on the front, looking over her shoulder. Both riders look content with their positions at the moment. Finucane just 20 years of age. Kate Will 24, so still quite young. There are a lot of young ones in these finals. I think 24 is the oldest age.
Both riders on the Hope Lotus, revolutionary bikes developed for the Tokyo Olympic Games. Working well for them. So similar equipment, similar outright speed, slight difference in age, 3 years. Kate Will being the older of the two. She's in first position, and now Emma Finucane. A little bit of extra speed. So Finucane in second position, Kate Will in the front. Kate Will one up in the best of three. She just wins this and she's got a bronze medal for herself. Bit of pressure coming from Finucane, trying to ride high on the track now. Kate Will looking to be completely in control as they go into the back straight. And Finucane into the slipstream though, so she's able to close the gap down up into the final bend, fighting around the outside, but Kate Will it is on the inside trying to hold her off. Finucane gets there though, over the top. What a ride from Finucane. It'll go to a photo, but it certainly looked to me, if it was the rider on the outside, Emma Finucane, that is taking it to a decider. And we can see the coaching staff from Great Britain cannot believe how close the racing has been between their two riders. And there you go, it's confirmation. It was Emma Finucane getting the win, so it's going to a decider.
Yeah, that was Carly McCulloch and Jason Kenny, so they obviously are looking after one rider each, and have one apiece is pretty exciting. Great for British cycling to have that type of competition at training. Here you can see Kate Will on the front. Finucane has had the height. She's come out with speed. She stayed really low and aerodynamic in that slipstream before popping out at the right moment as she comes around the bend. It's a long way around the bend when you're with a bit of height, but the thing is she had that speed, she had that momentum before she had hit it out, and it was just enough time along that long straight for her to get in front before the finish. So very exciting riding from the youngster.
Well, the talk about the sprinting on this particular track, as you see how close it was, the throw to the line from Finucane on the outside, is that it's a very fair track, and it is possible, fairly possible, and more possible perhaps than on some of the velodromes, to come around the outside to get the win. So that was great racing. Matilda Groh now looking to try and put her second hand on the gold medal. She has one on it at the moment after winning the first race up against Leah Friedrich from Germany, but the world champion has looked very intimidating at this competition, and that's perhaps why she goes for the clear visor. She wants her opponents to see the intimidating stare of a world champion through her clear visor.
The same routine, a few hits on the chest, breathing straight down into the bars. She knows what she wants.
See on the helmet there of Leah Friedrich, the Bundespolizei. So many of these riders are within the police department and also within the military as well. They have a program where they have the riders within the military and the police in a sports program. So they do a few weeks every year to train for the police or the military. Meanwhile, they get full assistance as sports men and women. It's a great program that's developed so many good German riders over the years.
Matilda Groh from the start, from the front. Friedrich at the back. Both these riders have a very aggressive position with long outstretched arms. Great for aerodynamics. Narrow handlebars.
That's also something that has evolved over the last couple of years with sprinters, isn't it? They're getting a lot higher and longer at the front to be more slipstream. It used to be short and low.
Yep.
Now it's higher and long to get the extra aerodynamics.
Pace is increasing now. Growing control.
Down the back straight. They'll hear the bell the next time they come around. Out of the saddle for Leah Friedrich, trying to get some extra height. Trying to counteract that though, Matilda Groh accelerating as well at the front. Here they come, one lap to a gold medal for Matilda Groh. Friedrich doing everything she can to stop that from happening. Still high on the track as they go down the back straight though. Friedrich a long way from the back wheel of Matilda Groh. You don't give a world champion that much distance on the final lap, and that's why Matilda is going to come away with the gold medal. 2 straight wins for her, and a gold medal here at the Nations Cup. Look at that, pumping the chest. The world champ, she's on top.
Yeah, we didn't see her pump the fist after the last round, did we? So she wanted that one. She's waited till it's signed, sealed, delivered. What a ride. Super cool to see. It's always nice to see the world champ win in world champ colours.
Unless you're racing against them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, that was a fantastic ride. And Leah Friedrich just giving too much distance coming into that final lap. And A rider as credentialed and as fast as Mathilde Gros, you just can't do that. You cannot afford to give that kind of distance.
Here we go. This is down the back straight on the final lap. And at this point, as you said before, it was game over. There was too much gap. She didn't get enough momentum, couldn't get into that slipstream, and the gap just stayed the same. So we know that Friedrich is a fighter, though, so she'll use this momentum into the next World Cup. There are a few of these. So this is vital opportunities for these riders to ride against the best in the world and figure out some tactics before the Olympic Games, because that's what it's all about in track cycling. It's the World Championships and the Olympic Games. So the World Champs this year will be in August, so that's where they'll have another chance to go for these rainbows. But yeah, there's a few Track Nations Cups before then, so I'm sure we'll see a bit more of these too.
And it's been a long time since the World Track Championships have been in August. That used to be the regular time slot for it, going back 20, 25 years or so. And it's the first time that the UCI is having the Super Championships with all the different disciplines, BMX, mountain bike, and all the indoor cycling events as well, all at the same venue in Glasgow for the first time together. They'll be doing that every 4 years, and this year it's the first of those. So it's going to be sensational for all cycling fans. Defending her title at those Worlds will be Mathilde Gros. And we can see the riders coming onto the track. And while the Kirin riders are getting themselves ready for the race for 7th to 12th, let's hear from the world champion and the Nation Cup's gold medalist, Mathilde Gros.
Test. Congratulations on your win today at the Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia. How does it feel to win today?
Thank you. I am so happy. It was a really, really long day and really hot here. I am so happy to win tonight because it was really hard and good for the qualification for Olympics.
What would you say was the biggest factor in your victory today?
I don't know. I trained a lot. It was a really hard tournament. Every girl was really strong, and I'm just happy to win.
Thank you. Congratulations.
On to the finals now for the men's Kirin. And this is the race for 7th to 12th place. Race for the medals up after this one. And Matthew Richardson from Australia in this one. Also Kevin Quintero from Colombia. Shinji Nakano from Japan.
First 3 out of 6 laps will be led by Germany, and then all 6 riders will go head to head.
Right at the very back is Jeffrey Hoogland.
To snatch fastest time.
And he'll be disappointed to be in the race for 7th place, I must say. He'll be doing everything he can to try and just show to everybody just how good he is travelling. Yuta Obara as well. So 3 Japanese riders, Hamasaki, Obara and Nakano.
Jeffrey Hoogland on the back.
The big Dutchman. And Matthew Richardson in 2nd position there. He wouldn't be too happy with being in this race either.
Derby is out 3 more laps to fight.
And he's trying to cover himself. You can see in the blue there, that's Quintero desperately trying to hold onto the wheel of Matt Richardson. 2 laps to go as they come through though. Down the back straight, Richardson in a good position. And of course this is the race for 7th place. Shinji Nakano it is that's coming through though with 1 lap to go at the front. Richardson in 2nd position. Here comes Richardson. Quintero on his wheel as well. But it's Nakano that's just now not been able to hold them off as Richardson comes over the top for Australia, and he will take 7th place ahead of Kevin Quintero from Colombia. And Nakano, I think, just holding on for 9th place overall. Obara in 10th. And Hoogland, a little bit disappointed further back for him. Good ride from Matty Richardson.
Yeah, that was a fast one from Richo. He was snuck in on those wheels in a great position. He had a big gap and he ran at that wheel before popping out. And he's got a big turn of speed. Once he unleashes, he's pretty impressive. So 7th place for him. So that's some important points to take ahead of the World Championship later on this year, and then the Olympic Games next year. So that's why these boys are fighting hard for these positions. 7th to 12th, very important points still up for grabs.
Confirmation, 7th place in the men's Kirin for Matthew Richardson, ahead of Quintero from Colombia. And then a trio of Japanese, Ramasaki, Nakano and Obara, with Jeff Hoogland in 12th place.
In position 1 to 6. The next heat, Thomas Cornish from Australia, Mikhail Yakovlev.
On to the race for the medals though, and that was the young Australian Tom Cornish, just getting himself strapped into his bike. Mikhail Yakovlev, also former world Kirin champion in Azazul Awang. He has another Malaysian teammate as well. We can and this was a crash from the semi-finals where we saw Yuta Obara unfortunately taken out, but the relegation was going to the rider, the second rider in black on the top there with the red helmet. He caused that crash by pushing down from the top. The end result was Obara unfortunately being taken out. So Tom Cornish, Mikhail Yakovlev, Azazul Awang, Mohammed Sharom. So the two Malaysian riders in this one. That'll be interesting, Nettie, to see how they may or may not work together. The world champion, Harry Levresen, and then Sam Dakin from New Zealand.
Okay, there we go. All right, they are lined up, ready to roll. Levresen here in the world champion colours, so he'll be looking to take a gold medal home. Silver in the team sprint yesterday. Here's Mohammed Sharom. Excuse my pronunciation.
There's Yakovlev, the former Russian. Down to Sam Dakin. He's really impressed. He's developed in the last couple of years. And Cornish really slow to go off the start line. And there was an issue in one of the earlier rounds about how long it took them to line up. And I know that Tom Cornish could have been penalised, and they chose not to. I'm not sure if they told him that, because he did seem to be a little bit slow getting to the motorbike this time. Right at the very back, though, Harry Levresen. Awang is, well, that's Sharom in second last position. So as they line up on the bike, we have Tom Cornish, then Azazul Awang, Sam Dakin, Yakovlev in 4th position. Then it's Sharom, second from the back, and the world champ, Harry Levresen, sitting right there in 6th position. 4 laps to go.
Tom Cornish was lucky to be bumped up into this round, so I think he might have finished 5th or so, and so I think because of the relegation and then also the non-start from the Japanese rider, I think that's why he's been bumped up into here. So he's going to make the most of it. We've got Awang on his wheel. He's the smaller rider. He's very good at tucking in at aerodynamics.
Move now from Harry Levresen. The bike comes off, 3 laps to go, and the world champ not messing about, trying to come straight to the front. But look at Sam Dakin. He backed himself in the earlier rounds and went very early. He stepped out into the world champion just to stop his run. And now Harry Levresen, who's been stuck around the outside now for a lap and a half. What's that going to cost him as they come around the next time to get the bell? Big ride now from the world champ. On the front, a long way from home. Sam Dakin in 2nd position. 1 lap to go now here in the Nations Cup Kirin final for the men. It's the world champ Harry Levresen down the back straight, and you can see what it's starting to cost him, because Azazul Awang's shoulder to shoulder up around the outside. 2 riders going down, and Levresen just holds off Awang to get the win. Yakovlev gets 3rd. Tom Cornish through for 4th, and really unfortunate to see the 2 riders touchdown, Sam Dakin and Sharom.
Yeah, that was nasty. So they were coming fast around that bend, and Dakin ended up moving out and leaning on Sharom. So you'll see the slow-mo here. He's just coming out, but there's just a little touch in here.
Well, Dakin in a great position in 3rd as they come around the final bend, and then Yakovlev goes up underneath, a little nudge into Dakin, up into Sharom, and really unfortunate for those 2 to go down. Got to say, Harry Levresen He had to start the engine 2 or 3 times in those last couple of laps. I thought he was going to get run down by Azazul Awang, but the strength, the power of the big Dutchman, he got the job done.
Yeah, I thought Awang had it. He was coming around with so much speed. And, Love Racing he had something else left up that sleeve.
So much to focus on there
I
with
know.
everything that was happening and the crash. And wow, Kieran Racing, it's incredible.
It is. I just hope those riders are okay. They came down pretty hard. So shame for Dakin. He looked so good there. But, yeah, it was just it looked like there was a bit of leaning, and then he just lost a little bit of that and lent on Sarom as they went to the track.
As the celebration for the world champ Harry Levresen, also Azazul Awang, but just look where Sam Dakin is sitting. He is just past the finish line, and yet the crash was coming out of the final bend. So Levresen ahead of Awang, Yakovlev, Tom Cornish, and unfortunately Sam Dakin picked up 5th place because he slid across the line, whereas Mohamed Sharom wasn't able to get there. So it did not finish for the Malaysian.
Oh, there he goes. Ouch.
Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? And a little wheel stand for Azazul Awang to the line, but it's not enough to get there. Silver medal for him. Good ride from Yakovlev. He's really coming on strong. And I think we can see Dakin as the first of these 2 riders to go down. Sam may have actually just jumped up to get the points to run across the line. And we didn't see that happen, but he clearly hasn't slid across the line from there. He must have jumped up, grabbed his bike, and it's all about thinking about the points for the overall standings of the Nations Cup.
Oofed. Ouch. When you're going at that speed, it's just so hard to correct once you've once your balance is out. But what I do love to see is Awang saluting for second. That's not very often in cycling, so he is a hero here in Malaysia. It's not far from Indonesia, so there are a lot of his fans out here. So great to see him revving up the crowd. Congratulations.
Well, the final standings in the men's, Kieran and the world champ standing on top of the podium. Let's go down to Harry Levresen in just a moment. Well, he's been the winner of so many things over the years, and once again, getting the job done. The powerful Dutchman is an absolute superstar of international sprinting. Let's go down and have a chat to him.
Congratulations on your win today. How does it feel to win?
Thank you very much. I'm really happy with the win. It was a really long and hard Keirin tournament. A lot of really hard races and a lot of riders today. And we had some bad crashes, not the best. But in the final I felt really good and I thought, let's go to the front early and hope to stay there. And I had some luck, it was good.
Thank you and congratulations with your win. And then I had to do a quick one.
Well, I really did think that Harry was going to get run down by Azazul Awang because once the bike came off, Harry, about a half lap later, went round the outside and was stuck on the outside until he got to the front and then just had to keep kicking the pedals to stay out in front. The man is incredible. All the best to the 2 riders that did go down, Sam Dakin and Mohamed Sharom. Putting on the harness now, there will be a slight delay before the decider of the women's bronze medal in the sprint because the crash was high on the velodrome coming out of the final turn. So they need to get up there just to check the track and make sure there will be no splinters or dangerous issues with the track coming into this last couple of races tonight. If anything, the speed of the crash, terrible. Lots of skin that's going to come off. But they were so lent over in that final bend, they didn't hit the ground as hard as you can sometimes when you fall from a height. So maybe a lot of skin taken off, but I'd be surprised if there's any real significant damages like broken bones.
Ouch.
Of any crash that you'd like to have, it's one where you've almost already laid over.
Are you not satisfied, Scott?
I wouldn't want to be out there in it, that's for sure.
No, I reckon what type of speed do you reckon they would be up? Maybe 70k an hour?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Are you not entertained?
Yeah, that's it. That's
absolutely
what I was thinking. But yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes the bones break in the slow crashes. Like if you're just literally you can't unclip. You just drop from your bike to about a meter. Whereas like these faster ones, yeah, as you say, if you slide, it burns. But yeah, often the burn is better than a broken bone.
Yep. Absolutely. Boy Scout skills being utilised here, climbing the track. And sometimes there's not a lot that has to be done. It's getting up there just to inspect it, to make sure that it is okay. Mark Fulcher on the left-hand side. He is the technical delegate for the UCI. They did have meetings the day before the competition started, getting all the new regulations and systems in place for the UCI. Medal presentations not too far away. That's the women's Madison presentations. What a great race that was.
They don't even look like they've raced. They look fresh.
Do you remember that feeling of being so fit and recovered so quickly?
Oh, ouch.
Oh, I don't. I don't remember it.
How do you know I'm not that fit, Scott?
Perhaps you are.
Yeah, no, I do miss that. I do miss that, but I don't miss what it takes to get there, because that is a lot of work, day after day, 2 or 3 sessions a day often, and it's, yeah. And then when you're out there, it's hard work. It is hard work. So kudos to these ladies. Been working really hard in a very hot track. Denmark taking the win. It's quite nice, though, when they do have a little bit of time before their podium presentation, because often the presentation is straight away. So by the time you've just got off, you've taken your helmet off, it is a mess. Trying to pull on a new skin suit and you're covered in sweat. It's the glamorous side of cycling and sport in general. It's a good problem to have, though. Mm-hmm. It's what a shame, having to deal with sweat because you have to go to a podium ceremony at the Nations Cup.
A lot of sweat happening here as well. The humidity, it's great for racing conditions for sure. Especially for the European countries that have come in from that Northern Hemisphere winter. For us, we fortunately came up from Australia for this one, so we're in the middle of our summer, but typically a much drier heat in Australia, especially in the southern parts of Australia.
Looks like they've decided to have the presentation first, which is a brilliant idea while they fix the track. So they're going to swap this with the women's sprint decider.
Makes perfect sense while they're repairing the track. The women's Madison victory ceremony. What a great race it was. We spoke about the skills and the development of skills in recent years, and that was what was on display. For those of you wondering where the name, the Madison, comes from, well, it's from Madison Square Garden. The velodrome that they had back 100-odd years ago was where they first had Madison racing, so it just became known as the Madison after Madison Square Garden. Picking up the bronze medal in the women's Madison was Italy in the final throw to the line, picking up the final double-point sprint. Masterclass in getting themselves onto the podium, Martina Fidanza and Silvia Zanardi.
So Fidanza, 3-time world champion.
Well, that final sprint, that cost the New Zealanders. They were holding on to the bronze medal position until the Italians picked up that final sprint.
It was a close one. There were about 4 teams that could have snuck onto the podium for bronze. But it's not over till it's over. It's the wayang kulit, traditional Indonesian puppet.
Silver medal, that went to France. Really strong performance from them as well throughout. Tactically and technically, very good. Valentina Fortin and Marion Boras. Very strong in the women's and men's Madison combinations, the French.
23 and 25 years of age. They've been on the podium many times.
And the gold medal, though, they took a lap on the field. They gained an extra 20 points for doing so. But that's not all they did. They fought it out through so many of the sprints to open up a very consolidating points advantage. Denmark come away with the gold medal here in Jakarta. Amelia Dideriksen and Julie Leith.
Julia Let in Danish, apparently. Well, it's not apparently. She was my teammate on the road. So that adds to Denmark's gold medal collection. So they had a win in the team pursuit last night with the men. So these ladies are no stranger to the Madison podium either. Silver in Tokyo.
Quality podium indeed. Denmark, France and Italy. New Zealand just missing out in 4th place. I can see from our commentary position around the corner, if I have a look, they are still repairing the track as well. So a little bit of work continuing to be done before the final couple of races tonight. Still a couple of medals, 2 medals to be awarded. Decider for the bronze medal in the women's sprint. Matilda Grove, of course, winning the gold, 2 straight over Leah Frederick. But it's an all-British affair. Do-or-die battle in the decider of the women's sprint for the bronze. And then we have the points race, the final discipline within the Omnium to come for the men. And the points race is the most brutal race on the track. Madison's pretty tough, but it's the points race that I think is the hardest track cycling event, and that's what they're finishing off the Omnium with.
Yep, so that's a chance for riders to gain laps, gain 20 minutes. Oh wow, they're going to go straight into the men's Keirin victory ceremony. This is good use of time.
Yeah, well, they are still definitely sorting out the damage to the track. When you crash at 70-odd kilometres per hour and bury your pedal or your axle into the boards, it does create a little bit of an issue. The long and the short of it, Azizul Awang, one of the shorter of the Keirin riders on the world scene, and then Mikhail Yakovlev, certainly up there as one of the tallest. He is a man-mountain, just riding around the infield here. The size of his bike is extraordinary. You can see the height as he stands up, but geez, fast.
6'4", I think. I love that though. That's like cycling. You have people of all shapes and sizes, and you never know who's going to be good, who's not. So these men are certainly very good. Look at that. It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, he picks up the bronze medal, Mikhail Yakovlev. Crash-marred final for the Keirin. But great performance from him to come away with the bronze here in Jakarta, the Track Nations Cup, I should say. Thanks to Tissot on behalf of the UCI. First round of the Nations Cup for the season 2023. You'll be happy with that. Silver medal, that goes to the former Keirin world champion in Azizul Awang. The likeable Malaysian, he's an absolute superstar in his home country and set to retire after the Paris Olympic Games in 2024. He will be moving from Malaysia to Melbourne, where he actually has spent most of his professional cycling career.
He's known for the wheelie as he goes across the line, so famous for it.
And this guy, Harry Lovelason, he's known for winning bike races. The world champion, once again, standing on the top step of the podium at an international competition.
2023 Tissot UCI track.
He surprised even I with what he was able to perform in that Keirin final. What a superstar, what a champion. And the Nations Cup gold medalist in the men's Keirin, Harry Lovelason. Once again showing why he is the world champion.
Awang, can you remember he had a pretty nasty crash once with a splinter through his calf?
Manchester World Cup. If you want to see something, if you're not too squeamish, just do a Google search for Awang splinter. And he's a tough rooster, I tell you.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's track cyclists, they're tough, these folk, aren't they?
Well, in that particular one, and that's why they are making sure that there are no issues with the track after that last crash, but he did get a very nasty splinter that went through his left calf. He jumped back on the bike and then rode across the line to get a placing and to get some points because it was a World Cup, then realised that he had half the track hanging out of his leg, then got off the bike and had to go to hospital and get it removed.
Yeah, he was stretchered off after he worked that bit out. and fair enough.
Well, the women's sprint decider for the bronze medal. The gold and silver, that's already been done with Mathilde Gros coming away with gold ahead of Leah Frederick. And now here's the two British riders separated by a chair this time, not sitting shoulder to shoulder. Frenemies as they go into battle for this final race for the bronze medal here in Jakarta.
It's really tough when you have a teammate, because the teammate's in the team sprint, but then you have to go head to head for your own individual medal. It's a really hard balance. So we see Sophie Capewell took the first heat, and then we have Emma Finucane took the second. So neck and neck. But yeah, trying to balance that relationship is really quite difficult because you're all in it together. You've got the main dream is to go to the Olympics and to win the gold. I'm assuming for everyone here. But then at the same time, you've got your own personal goals. So yeah, trying to maintain that friendship whilst also having that, almost, as you say, frenemy.
Well, at the elite level, you have to want to win more than the other person, don't you? As long as it doesn't get physical and they start really getting aggressive against each other, well, that friendship surely can continue.
Yeah, it's all about managing it. Yeah, these two seem to get along. I'm not sure.
Well, let's wait a couple of minutes and see. The decider for the women's bronze medal here at the UCI Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia. Two former champions leading them up onto the line. And this is Sophie Capewell, top of the track. So the virtually all-white helmet, and then there's the blue stripe on the top of the same branded helmet for Emma Finucane.
So they're forced to have a differentiation in their helmets when they have the same skin suit.
And not just size. Can't be just the size of the helmet that's different. It has to actually appear to be different. So Finucane on the inside. Capewell on the top. Winner gets the bronze medal. And one more race to come after this. The men's points race Omnium final. No difference in equipment. No difference in training and preparation between these two riders. This is a battle of the minds.
20-year-old Finucane on the front. 24-year-old Capewell on the back.
2 laps to go to a bronze medal. Pace just starting to pick up a little bit. Finucane now looking over the shoulder constantly. Capewell starting to get a little bit of height. Finucane countering that by a bit of acceleration at the bottom. Capewell again with a little bit more aggression out of the saddle. Both riders now, 1 lap to go. Bronze medal at the end of this 250 metres. Down the back straight, it's Finucane that leads, but Capewell bounces out of the saddle. You can see the fatigue in the legs of both of these riders. So much racing over the last couple of days, and it's the youngster that's coming away with the bronze. Emma Finucane, strong enough to finish it off and get the bronze. That was tough. You could see how tired they were.
Yeah, it did look a bit like that. Great work from the young rider from Wales. You could see Sophie Capewell tried to speed it up a bit, tried to get a bit of height, but I think she needed, a little bit more than that. She needed to have a bit more of a gap and run it at Finucane. But Finucane did a brilliant job. She had it under control, looked over her shoulder the whole time, knew exactly where Capewell was, increased the pace accordingly, and managed to hold off down the front straight on the final lap.
Debrief amongst the British coaching staff, including Cameron Meyer in the middle there, the multiple times world champion in points race, and Madison, Australian, obviously from Perth, Western Australia, but now working for the British team.
Yes, I think he's there for the endurance squad, but it looks like he's come over to lend a hand.
All hands on deck, Team GB. Well, that was really impressive from the youngster. 20 years of age, Emma Finucane. What a great ride. What a great ride.
Third place at the Nations Cup. This is an international event. This is pretty good.
But also just in the body language, the way she finished that off. You could tell both riders were fatigued. They had the team sprints yesterday. They've had decider races through this series as well.
There you go. There's a hug. That answers our question.
Great camaraderie.
That's it.
And it was a fair fight, that's for sure.
For 25 kilometers with 10 sprints.
She looks very happy with that.
Finally a smile.
Yeah, exactly. They can finally relax, although they have got some more racing up tomorrow. the women's sprinters have still got the Kieran to go, so it'll be interesting to see who's lining up for that.
Atau 25 km.
So a few riders now coming onto the track, and that's for the points race, the final discipline within the Omnium Series, the men's Omnium points race coming up now, the fourth of the 4 races, although they did have those qualifying points races earlier this afternoon. So they've actually had 5 races. Well, this will be the 5th race for all these Omnium riders, and most of them were in the team pursuits also. So a lot of racing for the endurance guys as well. Lindsay de Vilder, he's leading the way on 112 points, only 6 points now ahead of Campbell Stewart. So the points they were gaining from each of the individual rounds now get tallied together. So they start this final points race with their overall standings. Sprint every 10 laps, like we saw in the Madison, 5, 3, 2 and 1. It's over 100 laps, double points on the final sprint, as it was in the Madison as well for the women. 10, 6, 4 and 2. So much can change with so many points on offer in this final race. Laps gained, of course, also 20 points for anyone that's capable of doing that. And I can guarantee you there will be multiple laps taken in this race.
Yeah, I think Ollie Wood, he was caught napping underneath in the elimination. I think he's going to be hungry to move up some places. I think Roger Klug, he'll be definitely looking to do what he does best, and that is just go one after the other, after the other, after the other. So if I was looking to take a lap, I'd be looking for his wheel there. He is in the shot. So yes, it's going to be good. The last one after a very big day. They had the points race to qualify this morning as well. So this is the 5th race of the day. A lot of the riders did the team shoot yesterday.
What do you think they're saying? Campbell Stewart, Ollie Wood. You think Campbell's saying, mate, what happened in the elimination? Why'd you go out so early?
Or are they talking about the road scene? Who knows?
I'm not sure about the road racing to come. They've got a little bit of focus here. He is a rider that has not performed to the level that we've seen him in the past. Roger Kluger, the big German. And we'll see what he's able to pull out now. Rides for the Lotto Destiny team as the lead-out man, integral part for the finishes for the Australian Caleb Ewan, 37 years of age.
Our race leader, Lindsay de Vilder, with the opening win in the scratch race. Recently married is Campbell Stewart, the young Kiwi. He's still young, yet he's got so many amazing titles to his name. Also a very nice guy. Just, one of those good guys. Just so nice.
Sitting in 3rd place, William Tidball. So he's on 98 points, still certainly within contention, sitting in the bronze medal position right now. 4th place from Spain. This is Campbell Stewart again, 2nd place, but Sebastian Mora, he sits in 4th place, 88 points. He missed out a little bit in the elimination. He was one of the midfield eliminated riders. That cost him dearly. He's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to keep himself back up in the mix. Here we go. That's Mora now coming up onto the start line. Broken chain at the start of the previous race. So all fixed up and ready to go.
This is Thomas Bedard. So he also had an elimination race that I don't think he'd be satisfied with. So he's going to have to take some laps.
Well, he sits in 6th place on 82 points. And if you take a lap, there's 20.
Yep.
Plus whatever sprint points you might gain on the way around as well. So there are several riders right down to 6th, 7th, 8th place that are potentially able to get themselves the win overall, but definitely possibly there's a oxymoron, of getting themselves onto the podium. So the race is not over, and what typically does happen, Nettie, as you know, in these races, the top 3 or 4 riders start to really focus on each other. That creates an opportunity for the riders sitting in 5th, 6th and 7th to jump away and steal multiple laps. You get 2 or 3 laps, 40 to 60 points gain. That's huge.
That's it. And if you take 1 lap, so that's 20 points. Whilst you're out there, you're probably going to be stealing some points as well. So if you go through 2 sprints, that's 30 points. So Thomas Boudard, he's on 82 points. Bang, he could be in the lead in front of Lindsay. So it's still anybody's game.
Kluger swings up. Hashimoto does likewise, and just slowly getting themselves up and going. 98 laps to go when they come around. Sprint every 10 laps for 5, 3, 2 and 1 points. Campbell Stewart now, the next one to go to the top of the track. It's always intriguing just to see the tactics employed by the top riders, and of course they must monitor the riders that are close to them on the points, but if you've got a really strong rider that maybe had a mishap in the elimination or one of the earlier rounds that's desperate to go on the attack, they can get themselves back into this race. Ollie Wood is a good example of a rider that needs to do that now as well from Great Britain. He's down in 11th place on 63 points, but he'll be hunting a good performance, and he can only do that by taking a lap or two.
Yeah. I reckon Ollie Wood, Roger Kluger, we'll have, I reckon, Sebastian Moore, as you say, they're all, Thomas Boudard, they're all going to be really on the hunt. So if I was anyone else in that field, I would be looking at those wheels if I want to get away. So say Graham Frisley, he's a youngster from Australia. I think he's down in 15th of spot, so he's got some points he needs to achieve. So I think for him, trying to get a lap, that would be a good start. Because the thing is, it is hard. It's hard because everyone has a similar idea. So and a lot of people don't want other people to have get a lap. So it is quite challenging to be able to get away in a race like this.
Most of them know what to do. It's just whether they can. Aya Hashimoto, the winner of the elimination race last night for Japan, sneakily going off the front. He's down in 16th place on 30 points. There'll be no scrutiny coming from the top riders because Hashimoto has gone off the front. He's not in overall contention. So this is an opportunity for the well-credentialed Japanese rider. You mentioned Graham Frisley needs to go for one of these attacks. He has done that. He's trying to come out to this man, Hashimoto, now. There he is, Frisley, as he comes through with 92 laps to go. There'll be a sprint coming up next time, the first of the intermediates. The riders in front now certainly will be in the points mix. So Hashimoto on his way, possibly to 5 points in this first of the sprints. But here comes Graham Frisley, young Australian. Big effort from him as he comes up onto the back wheel of Hashimoto.
So he's going to get there, go straight around, get some points, and then he should carry on with this one and keep the momentum.
There it is, 5 points, the first sprint of the points race here in the Omnium. And Graham Frisley, Grizzly Frisley, as they call him. He was born in Montana in the USA, hence the Grizzly name, with all the bears over there, but very much an Aussie. Part of the Australian Team Pursuit program, one of the young riders within that, and 5 points to him, Hashimoto with the 3.
So Lindsay de Wilde, he's making sure he's staying at the front. He's leading this race, but he wants to stay in control. So he's staying amongst those front wheels. Happy to let some people go off the front. Aya Hashimoto, he's going again. He's quite far down, number 16 on the rankings. So it's actually, there's Sebastian Moore. He also wants to get away. So he's been active at the front. We'll swing up to the top now.
Didn't have the same kind of impetus, though, was it, the attack from Hashimoto this time compared to the previous?
No, they swing up again. So that every time that they have these little digs, that actually does cost a little bit of effort. So it's often good to try and save it up and go for one hit, and if it doesn't work, get back in on those wheels.
So no change in the top 3 positions after that first sprint, but in 4th, Sebastian Mora picking up 2 points. He goes up to 90 points, staying still within 4th. 8 points is the difference between him and the bronze medal position held by William Tidbill. He's on 98, Mora on 90, but it's still de Wilde 112 versus 106 with Campbell Stewart in second.
So 5 laps until the next sprint. Everybody's swinging up the track. It's been a bit negative. I think they might wait for this next sprint, and then we might see some attacks afterwards.
Still a few laps, though, before they need to set themselves up. But you don't want to go too far back in the field. Anything can change. Too far back, you'll be out of contention, or you'll have to put in an enormous effort to get closer to the points, and you don't want to waste too much energy so early on in a race like this. There's the focus on first and second. De Wilde from Belgium.
Following Campbell Stewart glued to his wheel.
Absolutely, isn't he? Absolutely.
Don't want to let him out of his sight. Still 6 points in it.
But that is what we were talking about before. You have de Wilde following Stewart, but that could open up an opportunity for Tidbill or Mora or Hansen or Boudard to do something and get away from those 2 top riders.
That's all bunching up. They're starting to wind up with 2 laps to go till the sprint. when they come around.
And that'll flick over now. So it's Bell as Hashimoto comes through out of the saddle. And it's 1 and 2 trying to come around the outside. Campbell Stewart from New Zealand. Lindsay de Wilde sitting in behind him. Juliemet from Canada. But the strength of Hashimoto, he's fast, isn't he? He's trying to hold them off as they come into the finish. He'll get the 5 points. Ooh, super close between the top two in the overall classification, though. De Wilde may have pipped Campbell Stewart then.
It looks like he got it. Just.
And he didn't quite get there. So a big effort from de Wilde, but Campbell Stewart did finish second in that sprint. So 3 points to Stewart.
Ooh, Ollie Wood going up and around the outside.
Well, I think we signalled this attack, didn't we? We thought this is the man that could do it, would do it, should do it, and he has done it. So Ollie Wood off the front and a big move after that first sprint. And to his advantage, it's a few of the guys in the overall classification that were right behind. They don't want to waste energy. They've swung up the track. There's Hashimoto getting the 5 points in that previous sprint.
So Ollie Wood has made the move. Oh, there you go. There's the slow.
Ooh, it was very close between Stewart and de Wilde. But a big effort from de Wilde to no gain in the end. So 1 point advantage to Campbell Stewart.
Sorry, Ollie Wood is making huge gains. He's already 2/3 of a lap up, and his compatriot, William Tidball from Great Britain, is also on his way. So they're about 1/3 of a lap spaced from the peloton.
Well, with Ollie Wood off the front, that's interesting. But with Will Tidball after him, that is extremely titillating because he is sitting in 3rd place overall, 98 points. And that has caused a reaction from the peloton.
He picked an amazing moment. So that was when his first and second were sprinting each other. So Ollie Wood has already made contact.
That's him on the back there.
Him. He's just made contact. Wow. So yes, he timed his moment to perfection. So his first and second were sprinting each other, and then he went bang straight after that sprint when these other two had moved back into the peloton. So William Tidwell, he's still out there. They've got a chasing group of 5 heading out after him, but no Campbell Stewart and no Lindsay de Wilde in that group of 5.
Next sprint now, and it will be Tidball that will get away with the 5 points. But because that group behind is chasing, that's close enough for the peloton to kind of be enticed to come out after them as well. So that's not doing Will Tidball any good at all. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to gain a lap. He does pick up the 5 points though. So that'll take him to 103.
Lindsay.
Still in 3rd place though.
So that is the chasing group, and that we have, that's Campbell Stewart, and he's in the chasing group. So after sprint 3 of 10, William Tidball got the 5 points, Tobias Hansen in 2nd. But this is the chasing groups coming back together now. William Tidball has been caught by the group of 8.
And that's that group just out in front there. So Tidball caught by that group. Campbell Stewart closing the gap to these leaders. And another little move off the front, Switzerland and Mexico. But the 20-point lap gain by Ollie Wood puts him up into 6th position. So he goes to 83 points, getting closer to possibly getting himself back up into the medal. So good performance there from Ollie Wood. Pina and Tidball, Mexico and Switzerland just off the front, 66 laps to go. So another 6 laps until the next sprint points on offer. Ollie Wood in the background swings up. And Baudin is the French rider. Next one to go up the track.
Zakharov from the Beat skin suit.
So
Kluger.
5 points is the difference in the overall standings. Real focus from Lindsay de Wilde on 2nd place rider Campbell Stewart. And of course you would. Campbell Stewart so well credentialed in Omnium racing.
So here we have Graham Frisley, Aya Hashimoto, number 51, Daniel Christa. So they've headed off the front.
Good little move this from riders down in the classification trying to move themselves up. We've seen Hashimoto do it a couple of times. Graham Frisley, he picked up the first sprint, chasing down Hashimoto to do so. And a good move from Daniel Christa. also to get out there as well. But there is a chase behind, and Oliver Wood is leading that group of three just behind, trying to keep himself in the points. Gillimet is there as well, as is Boudat.
Yeah, so if these guys can get together and start working together. Oh, we've got Sebastian Moore as well. There's coming into the bell lap, sprint lap, next lap around.
61 laps to go it is, and a big group forming off the front. It's Krista that leads them down the back straight. Hashimoto in second position, then Graham Frisley, then Thomas Baudat, the French rider, in fourth place. They will cross the line in that order.
So this is that group of 7. So Sebastian Moore has made it across, but I think there's a couple of riders that need to keep that pressure down. They have a nice gap on the peloton.
Really dangerous to see Mora go across to that group. If this goes on and they're able to get a lap on the field, another 20 points to Mora's tally, that'll put him right up in the overall standings. It'll actually take him to second outright. So this is a really dangerous move.
So 60 laps to go. They're over a third of the way through. Remember, they've had four races behind them already.
Not overly organised out in front, though. That's a bit of an issue for them. And it is Lindsay de Wilde that's actually looking to close this one down. Gillimet from Canada out in front. Baudat is out there with him as well for France. But really messy. There was some potential in that group. They just weren't working very well together.
Yeah, but it's all strung out now. So Sebastian Moore just making contact. Here we have Ollie Wood swinging up. It's on, it's off, there's down, they're up. It's lots of gaps forming, everybody's on their knees, so lots of people trying to get away, but everyone has the same idea. No one wants to let anyone else go away, but they all want to try and do the same. So
there's a comment you just made then. They're all on their knees. That is the way it is in this, isn't it? It's such a fatiguing event. Their legs are so sore, they're so numb. And this is a big move, though. Campbell Stewart, his legs feeling a little bit better than everybody else's, perhaps. He dragged Tobias Hansen off the front with him. Hansen not able to contribute to the pace setting, though. So Campbell Stewart showing signs of some real strength. It's 54 laps to go.
that was closed down quite quickly by Lindsay de Wilde. Once again, whenever you see Campbell Stewart, you're going to expect to see de Wilde and vice versa. If de Wilde goes off the front, you're going to see Campbell Stewart right there.
Only 5 points between those two. 53 laps to go, so many points on offer. He's ridden so well, Lindsay de Wilde.
Zakharov off the front again. So he's being chased down by Sebastian Mora. So Sebastian again. Here he is trying to get that lap.
How strong has he been? Really good, Mora.
And you've got Philip Heinen now trying to close that gap. So Phil was the one that went down in the tempo. He won the tempo in the end, but he's obviously feeling all right now. He's closing this gap.
Halfway point next time around. Next sprint's up for grabs. Mora's there. Vincent Hoppazak, Dutch rider in the black colours, out there in front. And yeah, we saw him in the tempo race riding well. Philip Heinen has bridged himself across, but the 5 points, that goes to Hoppazak.
I said Zakharov. Whoops. I keep saying it wrong. All right, and then we have Sebastian Moore who's swung up. We have Philip Heinen. They've formed a group of three, and we have Thomas Baudat in the no man's land at the moment, trying to make it across.
Well, with Sebastian Mora out there in this little group, they're not too far, you can see, to getting to the back of the peloton. And the top three riders in de Wilde, Stewart and Tidball are allowing Sebastian Mora from Spain to come right back in contention for the overall standings and the gold medal. He had a bit of a hiccup in the elimination, didn't get the points that he was hoping, but he has rectified that in one foul swoop here. Just about to come onto the back of the peloton, 47 laps to go. And Sebastian Mora, they have backed off a little bit. I think perhaps they're wondering whether they can stay out there for the next sprint. And you can see the tactics of Mora. He's definitely hoping he can do that. It's a risky one, though, because if the pace picks up in the peloton, they may not get on at all.
And as you say that, we've got Campbell Stewart going off the front. So he's not someone you want to go off the front as you're just trying to make contact after taking a lap. So yes, they're all swinging up. I do have to say sorry. I'm calling Hoppazak Zakharov. Apologies to the Dutchies.
Well, in the gap, and you can see this is Philip Heinen getting himself the lap, always trying to. He's just about to get on, so he will get a lap gain, 20 points added to his tally as he gets on. Yet, Sebastian Mora has backed off a little bit with the acceleration that did come from Campbell Stewart. So there's the lap gain. So a good ride there from Philipp Heinen, 4th in the European Championships this year. And that he comes in 10th position overall on 76 points. He now goes to 96. So he'll go up to 4th place with that lap gain. And still plenty of action though in this front group. There's Tidbull in the green colours with the Union Jack. And a focus to the back of the peloton now, just coming into shot. They're the two riders that were with Philipp Heinen trying to take the lap.
So Hoppesack and Sebastian Mora. So they've got a bit of a gap. There's two of them, and then there's another gap to Tobias Hansen and Thomas Beda.
And they'll get 41 laps to go. So this is the front of the peloton. There's a big attack happening out in front with Ollie Wood, Campbell Stewart, and also Matthias from Poland. And while these three are going off the front, Sebastian Mora at the back of the peloton is about to pick up the points. 5 points. Actually, Hoppesack actually just dropped over the top of him. Then they'll get to the back of the peloton. Right, out in front, plenty of action going on. Mora has gained the back of the peloton. He'll get the 20 points lap gain. While he's gone and done that, the big contenders are now right out in front. A lot of pressure on the Belgian, though.
Yep, so now we have Tobias Hansen and Beda. They are in front of the race. They've just gone out of shot. And then we have these three coming across. So Campbell Stewart, we have Ollie Wood, and we have Poland's mental blank. João Matthias. There we go. All right, so they're forming a group of 5. So that'll be nice and strong if they can get that lap.
Well, if all of the effort that Sebastian Mora did to put himself back in contention for the medals, and then while that was happening, he's allowed Campbell Stewart to go off the front. The rider that has missed this, though, this is the big thing, is Lindsay de Wilde, the overall standings leader from Belgium. He was glued to the back wheel of Campbell Stewart earlier on, but now Stewart has been unleashed. He's got up the front of the peloton.
Yeah, this is a major mistake from Lindsay de Wilde. We said that they would be following each person wherever they went. So Campbell Stewart has done a brilliant job to manage to dislodge him from his wheel and get off the front without him. So if he gets this lap, he will go up in 20 points, taking the overall lead.
Oh, he's definitely going to get it. 35 laps to go, and Campbell Stewart from New Zealand just about to come onto the back of the peloton. And again, there's a bit of a discussion amongst themselves as to whether they should or shouldn't. Can they hold on for the next sprint? That's what might be happening at the back of the field. So these are the leaders on the track at the moment. Lindsay de Wilde still leads the way, but that's about to change because Campbell Stewart is going to gain a lap. He will get the 20 points and he'll go to the outright lead. William Tidbull still holds down 3rd place at the moment. Philipp Heinen has jumped up to 4th, and Sebastian Mora is now sitting in 5th place.
So when they come around, they'll have 2 laps to go.
Actually, they have now updated that, so the points hadn't been given for the lap gain. Now it has been given to Sebastian Mora. He leads outright with the 20 points gained by taking a lap on the field. It's about to change, though, because the tactics of the group at the back, they're not wanting to get onto the peloton. They don't want to be given the lap gain just yet because they're trying to hold out for this next intermediate sprint. And it's too late, though. The peloton was going too slow. Campbell Stewart has jumped into the back of the peloton. He'll go to the top of the leaderboard. There you go. You can see on the left-hand top of the screen, 20 points have been added to Campbell Stewart's tally. He is now the new leader.
Yep, and as he's done that, we have Roger Kluger going off the front. So as we said, he's going to go and take some laps. So now it begins. So 30 laps to go. He's got some work to do, but he's now taken the 5 points for the sprint. And then they'll carry on with this and try and go for the 20.
3 riders off the front. Peloton starting to disintegrate behind. Kluger picks up the 5 in front of Lang and Thibault from Switzerland. About a big change in the overall standings, though. 29 laps to go. Peloton not desperately trying to bring these 3 riders back because they are a long way down in the overall standings. Doesn't really matter to what's happening in the race for the medals. because that's been led now by Campbell Stewart of New Zealand, 120 points. Sebastian Mora jumping up into the silver medal position, and Lindsay de Wilde dropping down to bronze. A little bit of work to do. Still a race for the silver, perhaps, for de Wilde. There is the Belgian, just having to bridge gaps again. So it's really tough now for the Belgian. He's under scrutiny. He's in the spotlight, and Campbell Stewart is doing the interrogation.
Yeah, it's 26 laps to go. There are still double points on the final sprint, just like the Madison. So things can change. If de Wilde gets 10 points in that final one, he'll be jumping straight up to 124. So he'll be still in the mix. So anything can happen. Still a race underway.
Well, Campbell Stewart looking at this stage that he can confidently perhaps come away with the gold medal. It's not out of reach just yet. But Mora and de Wilde certainly in a race for silver at the moment. It's a little bit further back for Tobias Hansen. He's in 4th place on 109 points. So 5 points for him to get himself up into a bronze medal at this stage. 3 more sprints to come. They'll come around to get 23 laps to go. There's our 3 leaders.
Langer, Thibault and Kluger working very well together. We've got about half a lap up on the field.
They do have 2 chasers just behind these 3. But while they're out there, the longer out there, the more sprint points they are collecting, which will not be changing the overall standings for the medals. So if you're trying to move up, if you're Lindsay de Wilde, you really want to get these riders back into the peloton, so you've got a chance to pick up some points in these next sprints.
And I think Kluger, he needs more laps. I don't think the points are going to be the difference for him. So he's going to want to take a lap, and then he's going to want to go off again. But there's only 21 laps to go, so not a lot of laps left to do it.
Valerie Thibault from Switzerland coming around to pick up the 5 points with 20 laps to go ahead of Roger Kluger and Colby Langer. And Matthias Gillemette is about to get himself across to those 3. You can see that at the top of the left-hand side there, they're about to get around. Now, this changes things a little bit as well. They'll get to the peloton, they'll get their 20 points for the lap gain, and that means there's some points back on offer again in these next 2 sprints for riders back in the peloton.
Well, Matthias, Tobias Hansen from Denmark is on his own. You can see him, top left-hand side of the screen. So he is now in the lead. So 18 laps to go.
So with the Roger Kluger group taking a lap on the field, we now go behind the large group we can see here. And just in the tops of the screen, there you go. There's your leader from Denmark going up around the left-hand side. So he'll pick up, if he can stay out there, he'll be the leader on the track for now. Campbell Stewart sitting in a very comfortable position. All the points being gobbled up by riders further down in the overall standings. Hansen, though, he does sit in 4th place on 109. But gee, he's doing it tough out there on his own. 6 laps for him to get to the next intermediate sprint. He's chasing the medals. He's sitting in 4th at the moment, but he's out there all on his own trying to get the job done. Big split in the peloton ahead. And there's a real chance that Hansen can get himself into the back of the field. And this is the split that's going off the front. It's Boudin from France that's forcing the pace. 15 laps to go. Sebastian Mora now.
He's hungry for more.
Mora wants more, and he's going for it.
And up.
He's dining out at the velodrome here in Jakarta. Up the track, back down again. Boudin doesn't want to come through. And Thibault from Switzerland now does.
So Campbell Stewart's just made it onto the back of that group. So it's slightly out of position before, but he's managed to close that gap.
Well, Campbell Stewart has gone down to the front, and he's just trying to keep the average speed of the peloton up. You can see the danger coming from Hansen, who's still trying to get onto the back of the peloton to gain the 20 points for the lap gain. So Stewart just dragging everybody forward a little bit, keeping the average speed high in the peloton, but you can see how much damage it's doing.
Yeah, he's always looking over his shoulder. He knows where his opponents are. He was looking at Lindsay de Wilde, but now he also has to look for Sebastian Mora. So Sebastian's straight on it. He's up at the front, always in contention. We have Tobias Hansen. He looks like he's about to make contact, but it was 1 lap to go. So that was the bell. So if he comes around, he will take the 5 points.
And they do only ring the bell for the leader on the track. So the peloton sometimes don't realise where they sit. Hansen did come through to pick up the 5 points. So that actually puts him, depending on what happens in this sprint here, back in the field. Mora picks up the 3 points for second. Hansen, he will move up to equal third place with Lindsay de Wilde with one sprint still to come. Campbell Stewart, he's comfortably in the lead now. Sebastian Mora on 116 points, but then two riders tied on third. They'll be both on 114. That's de Wilde and Hansen. Hansen still, though, trying to get to the back of the peloton. If he can get there, throw another 20 points onto the tally.
Gee whiz, what a ride. These Danish riders, and they're taking laps. That's amazing. He won gold in the TP last night too. There he goes, making contact onto the back. That's 20 more points added to his tally.
That'll take him to the outright lead, 4 points ahead of Campbell Stewart. So that is an incredible ride from Tobias Hansen. He was out there on his own for so long. He picked up the 5 points. He's picked up a lap gain as well, and there is one sprint still to come. They will be coming around to get 5 laps, and this race is still on. Campbell Stewart, he looked in control. He's now not. He's got a 4-point deficit he has to overcome in this final double-point sprint.
Yep, and the thing is, Hansen's just put in a lot of effort. He's just taking a lap. Campbell Stewart will be feeling a lot fresher, but it still means he still needs to be in those points. So he has to get points in this sprint to take the lead. So if he gets first or second, he will get 10 points or 6 points. And then he's going to have to hope that Hansen won't get points, which judging by the way Hansen looks after taking that lap, it might be hard. But this is not a good situation. There are 3 riders going off the front with 4 laps to go for Campbell Stewart. Campbell needs these points, so he needs to get up the road if he wants to take this gold medal.
Well, as long as these 3 riders stay off the front for the final sprint, they'll be coming around to get 2 this time. That'll take up the 10, the 6 and the 4. There'll only be 2 points on offer. That won't be enough for Campbell Stewart to get the gold medal out of the hands of Matthias Hansen.
Campbell has nothing to lose. He has to go now if he wants to go for this gold medal. But Ollie Wood is going to do it, start the lead out for him. So
here we come around. The 3 riders out in front, fighting for the final sprint. The real race for the medals, though, that's further back behind. It may be too far behind. Hopperzak it is that's leading down the back straight. That's the Mexican rider in second position. So Hopperzak will pick up the 10 points. But the race for the medals, they're coming up to the line now. And no points for Campbell Stewart as they came across the line. So that guarantees the gold medal goes to the man that looks pretty surprised, but he's very happy indeed. Tobias Hansen, hats off. What a ride. Solo lap taken, stealing the gold medal from the big favourites right at the throw.
Wow, that was amazing. It looked like Campbell Stewart had it all under control, but that final lap take and those 5 points right at the end there for Tobias Hansen. 20-year-old, gold yesterday in the team pursuit, bronze in the team pursuit at the 2022 World Championships. This youngster from Denmark, this is a very impressive ride from him.
I think everyone thought Campbell Stewart had it wrapped up. And then Hansen did something spectacular. 134 points, 4-point margin. And you can see how things change when those other riders desperate to pick up points towards the end take up the advantage that Stewart needed. He needed to get either first or second in that final sprint. Actually, third would have been enough.
Yep.
Because he would have been equal points, but got it on, crossing the line ahead of Hansen in that last throw. What a ride. Hats off to the young Dane.
I don't reckon Campbell quite knew. I reckon because he's the type of rider that would have just gone for it. And you could see he came back with so much speed at the end there. So if he had moved just that bit faster and just, as you say, he had to get third. And I think he would have had enough to do that. So this is why these riders do these races. It's a great chance to learn. It's really hard to make these decisions. Like, it's hard enough for us to be sitting here working out mathematics versus those riders who have been out there for 5 races throughout this entire day. That was a 100-lap point score. They're in the red. They've got a big helmet on. They're super hot. They're trying to act under pressure. They're trying to look at the wheels in front of them. And, so it's a challenging thing for these athletes out there. So kudos to all of them.
They really do start to rely on the graphics on the scoreboard and making sure if they're up to date quickly after each sprint and after each lap gain and the points are adjusted, they have to focus on that to see exactly where they stand. It'll be interesting to hear from Campbell Stewart in the next couple of days where he thought he sat coming into that final sprint. But it doesn't matter because this is the man that's going to come away with the gold medal. Tobias Hansen, another superstar Danish track rider on the rise. That was amazing. That was fantastic. Stewart with the silver medal, and of course Sebastian Mora comes away with the bronze. He got himself back after the disastrous elimination onto the podium. Great ride by the Spanish superstar. Vincent Hopperzak, where did he come from? He won the final sprint. He wasn't too far off the podium himself, 116 points. And Lindsay de Velde, got a feel for him. He came into the final race in the gold medal position and then faded down to 5th place. Let's get down to our new cycling superstar from Denmark, the winner of the Omnium here in Jakarta, Tobias Hansen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the medal ceremony of the 2023
Presentations coming up.
Tissot UCI
2 more to come, or 3, yeah, 2 more to come. The elite women's sprint, and of course the race we just saw, the men's Omnium. Wow, second night of broadcast here in Jakarta. Incredible racing that we've seen. Still 1 more day to go. And the women's sprint victory ceremony. Another world champion on the top step of the podium here.
by Budi Saputra, Deputy Chief Executive of 2023
Leah Frederick
Tissot
from
UCI
Germany with the silver medal.
Jakarta.
So good riding by her as well, backing up the team sprint gold medal from yesterday. She's the world champion in that discipline. And I think a future world champion is what we're looking at right here. Emma Finucane, 20-year-old from Great Britain. She gets the bronze here in Jakarta at the UCI Track Nations Cup thanks to Tissot. But she is an absolute superstar in the making.
Yeah, it's very impressive from the youngster from Wales.
Worthy fist pump as she stands up onto the podium for the bronze medal.
Presented to Leah Sophie Friedrich.
Already a very accomplished rider at the age of 23, Leah Sophie Frederick, with the silver medal now in the sprint.
7 world titles behind her.
That's a handy tally, that's for sure. And the current world champion in this particular discipline, Mathilde Gros from France. It was dominant. All of the rides that she had never really looked like she was in trouble. Fastest qualifier. Not a big difference in outright speed from the qualifying round between these top 4 riders. But once they got into the match racing, Mathilde really did show her dominance. Worthy of a world champion.
Yes, I think she won 2 out of 2 every round. So when it was up for 3, she still won them in 2. So she'll be very happy with that, I think.
Well, showing fantastic form, the world champion, looking to defend her title in Glasgow later in the year. But of course, the big goal for her being a home Olympic Games in Paris. 2024. Can she continue to grow and take gold for France? That would be such a spectacular thing to do to win on home soil.
So the problem is, after doing the other presentations earlier, it means that the boys don't have much time to get themselves organised and up and ready in front of the podium after their men's Omnium points race.
Well, we can see from our position here, as some of the local channels just having a chat there with Mathilde Gros, just keeping an eye out for where the men are, and if they are actually close to the podium presentations, I think there will be a slight delay while they're getting themselves sorted and toweled off and dusted off and getting their breath back. And it's not just about the points race. It's such a difficult race. That was the 5th event, or the 5th discipline for the Omnium riders. It started with qualification points races in the afternoon. Too many entries to go straight into the Omnium on its own. So they had those points race Omnium qualifiers and then into the 4-discipline Omnium series itself, finishing with that brutal points race that we just witnessed. UCI Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia, men's Omnium victory ceremony. No rest for the endurance riders in the end. Straight off the bike, towel down, and straight ready for the podium.
It's nice and moist in this velodrome, 75% humidity at the moment.
So it's gone down. So much more comfortable than it has been, 75%.
Maybe not so much for these boys.
Oh, nothing comfortable for the guys in the Omnium at the end, that's for sure. Sebastian Moro, though, what a great ride. All the 3 rides, we can talk so much about each of these performances because Sebastian had an issue, a hiccup. He didn't get the points he needed from the elimination, but he fought back hard to gain laps, get some sprint wins, and come away with a podium position. Just shows how gutsy the experienced Spaniard is.
He did. He was at the front the entire race, off the front or on the front. So, yeah, he was always there, always active, hungry, so much intent.
New Zealand, presented to Campbell Stewart.
And with 2 sprints to go, I thought it was in the bag for Campbell Stewart, the former world champion, the Olympic silver medalist. And he may have even thought that as well. Great performance, though. He was being shadowed by the leader coming into it, Lindsay de Wilde, and he broke the chains, got away, and took a lap on the field, put himself into the gold medal position.
Yeah, that's hard to do. That is hard to do.
It is. Yeah.
Getting rid of somebody who's been following you around. But this is who it's about tonight, Tobias Hansen from Denmark, the 20-year-old. Not a bad performance from him. He took us all by surprise. That 5 points, but then it was the 20 that bumped him into the overall lead.
And to do all that on his own, to be taking that lap on his own as the accelerations were coming towards the final sprint, he still had enough to be able to get to the back of the peloton and gain the lap and take the gold medal. That was a brilliant performance from the young Dane. Tobias Hansen, Campbell Stewart and Sebastian Mora, our gold, silver and bronze medalists in the men's Omnium here at the Track Nations Cup. First of the season, 2023. Off to Egypt next for the next Track Nations Cup. So a spectacular location from one to the next, Jakarta to Egypt.
I love it. Places that we haven't had Nations Cups before. It's really exciting.
That's what it's about, isn't it? It's building the globalisation of cycling and taking it to these sorts of nations, and what splendid venues they have as well. They've got the venues, they've got the high performances now, and hopefully that does inspire the locals. It is really a beautiful venue. So Denmark go to the top of the table after the second night of our broadcast here. One more day to go. Denmark with 3 gold medals in total. Perfect score for them. They don't need silvers and bronze by the looks of it. New Zealand going well also with France and the Netherlands. As we go further down, Italy in 12th place, which is interesting from them, such a strong nation. Hopefully they can bring themselves back on the final night of competition. Annette Edmondson, thank you for you. Another night down, looking for a big night to come tomorrow.
Thanks so much, Scott. It's been good fun. And yeah, another hot and fast night of racing. Can't wait to see you all tomorrow.
Absolutely. It's been so exciting, and it finished on a high with a performance that will be spoken about for a long time from Tobias Hansen ahead of Campbell Stewart and Sebastian Mora. So much more racing to come in tomorrow night's competition. The final night here in Jakarta.